Morning, everyone. I snuck on early. I thought I saw a few of yous on there. I thought I'll come on and say good day to everyone for the first 10 minutes. That way we don't go overtime. I've got a special guest coming on around 9:30, everyone. I don't want to keep her waiting. Can anyone guess who it could be? We've got a special guest coming on. We're going to be talking about manufacturing in Australia. So she volunteered to come on, which surprised me a bit, but it's going to be good to see what she's got to say. Who's first on this morning? Lukey Reed, how are you, mate? Down in Tassie. Hope you all got me. If you can't hear me, everyone, I've got the little microphone on, so if you can't hear me, yell out. It appears I've got green lights there, so I've unmuted myself. Who else is on? Lukey Reed, as I said, Diane Clough. Hope I pronounced that right. Diane, hey, good morning to you. Blackers, how are you, mate? Hope you're all well. Hey, good news, mate. They're talking about a fuel refinery and storage over in Western Australia again, where they need one on the West Coast, certainly. We need more. Chris Foley's talking about maybe another one in Gladstone. So we're starting to think down the right track now, and they're talking about one in Western Australia, which is good news, mate. Might take a bit of the pressure off you guys. The Stuka dive bomber's flying over as we speak. Can anyone hear him? Lorna McMillan. G'day, Lorna. Down there in sunny Victoria. Speaking of sun, the sun is out here, everyone. Thank God. Got a fine day today. We had one yesterday too, which was a bit cloudy yesterday, but a bit of blue sky. No rain, which is good. Bit of drama overnight here. I had to rescue a bird. Crew decided to get a baby plover and put it on the front doorstep. Anyway, I had it in a box last night on a towel and all that, and I didn't know how injured it was. I don't think Crew injured it, thank goodness. Anyway, I took him out back paddock this morning and flapped his wings and waddled off. So hopefully the little plover, hopefully mum and dad come and find him now. So they just forage around for the first 7 or 8 weeks on the ground, catching bugs and everything, and then they turn into arseholes and dive bomb everyone. Who else we got? Roger. Is that Roger Bartolo? G'day, mate. How are you? Lynn Rogers. G'day, Lynn. Hope you printed out my new recipe this morning. The, what are they called? The little quiche boats. They're good, those things. They're a great camp feed, those things. Just the stand and stuffs. The little old El Paso stand and stuffs, and put your egg mixture in there, bit of beaten up egg and milk, and put in anything you want, really. Bit of bacon, anything. Top it with some cheese. Bake them in the camp oven or your little baby Webbecue, whatever you got, or even your oven at home. And they are really, really nice. You can have them for lunch, dinner. You can have them cold for lunch the next day with a bit of salt on. They go really good. So, yeah, I know Lynn's printing them out. Brett's printing them out from SMG. He FaceTimed me the other day like a little kid with his big book. He said, "Look what I've done, Buck." He's printing all the recipes out, and he's looking forward to getting all the rest of them. Go, Wixie. Tell you what, your dim sim recipe's going all right, mate. Lots of people watching that one. I reckon it would have been nicer without. It was a bit tart. Is that the sweet chili sauce with the sweet and sour? I reckon it would have been nice to just the sweet and sour. It was a little bit tart, the sauce. Is that the word for it? A little bit sharp without the, yeah. But anyway, it was bloody nice, mate. I think about 7,000 views on that. They come up all right, actually. The old bloody Wixie's sweet and sour dim sims. Really good. Greggy Campbell, how are you, mate? Morning to you. Jimmy Nowman. G'day, Jim. How are you, mate? Pete McMurtry down in Townsville. Benny Lux. All the usual suspects on. Whoever. Marky Lavelle. He won trivia last night on Rob the Wanderers channel, everyone. Marky Lavelle. I was watching the Parramatta game, thinking Mark will be watching his team play. Nah, he was over doing trivia. And he won, apparently. Hey, Nathan, how are you? Nathan Bridgeland. Joshy Hatch down in South Aussie. How are you? The Swaggins are on. G'day, Swaggins. How are yous? Rafa said to go say g'day to Rory and Kenzie. Steve's on from Sore Adventures. Steve comes on for 2 minutes and then pisses off and does something. And I hope you're going good, Steve. I started watching your electrical thing this morning, mate. It was a bit over my head, all that electrical stuff. Who else we got? That's about it for now. Dean Beck. G'day, Dean. How are you? Yeah, anyway, so we've got a bit to talk about this morning. Got a special guest coming on because I'm going to be talking about manufacturing because a well-known Australian camping company is Drifter, everyone, is come on the other day. We'll talk about that soon. The Drifter Draws, which has been going for something like 27 years. Luke's closing down Drifter Draws, everyone. So we'll talk about that soon and some of the challenges he was up against. So I saw that pop up the other morning and I went, oh, wow, it took me by surprise. And it's not good news when you see little companies like that having to close down. And we'll talk about that. And that's where our special guest is going to come in because she is doing university at the moment and just did a study on a couple of well-known Australian companies and the challenges that they're up against manufacturing in this country. So she did a university paper on it, everyone. So she'll be coming on about 9:30 in about half an hour's time. I've got to put the link up so she can click on it. Otherwise, who else is on there? Wixie saying g'day to Marky LaBelle. I tell you what, the Eels put up a good show last night, mate. I thought they were going to come back and do the rabbits. If that cat starts meowing, she's already in my bad books for catching that baby plover. And luckily she didn't kill it. I'm always go out and there's a mouse at the step just about every morning. She always goes out and cleans a mouse up. But yeah, when she starts bloody getting the birds, that pisses me off. They're a mongrel animal, cats sometimes. They don't do it because they're hungry. She gets fed. They just do it because they're just instinctive bloody hunters and killers, cats. That's why a lot of people don't like them. Mongrel bloody thing. So, yeah, she got a smack on the ass for that. Bloody leaving a baby plover at the front door. Luckily, I think it was uninjured. I let him go this morning. He was okay. So hopefully he goes on and turns into a big plover and becomes an arsehole and remembers Crew the cat and then bomb dives her and gets her on the ass with his beak. Anyway, nah, they're cute when they're little. Just I know they're an arsehole bird when they grow up. They're all right. They're just protecting their young, mate. They're like magpies. That's just that's how they are. But the baby ones are cute as. You've seen them when they little feathery little things. They're cute little fellas. And then they grow in, they turn into arseholes. There's no doubt about that. Hope you're good, Wixie. My God, the comments. Pablo, how are you, mate? All the country will close if we keep. Yeah, I know, Pablo. We'll talk about that soon, mate. What's the answer? I don't know. John's on from Oregon. G'day, John. Saying g'day to Timmy. Dicko's Destinations. Good stuff. Watched your clip last night, John, up into Washington State. And I think your next one will probably be over the border into Canada, mate. Looking forward to that one. It's a bit of a grey old day, unfortunately. You would have got some not like, isn't it amazing the difference a blue sky makes when you're doing photography or videography? A grey old day to a nice blue sky day. Everything just looks so much better. And John got some close-ups, everyone, of a little, I didn't know if it was a beaver or an otter. I don't know the difference. It was an otter. A little baby otter. How cute are they? Speaking of cute animals, that little otter, go and watch John's latest clip, everyone. A little otter come out of the river, and gee, they're like a little puppy dog. Geez, they're cute. I'm going to go and throw something at that cat. Shut up. Listen to her. Bloody hell. Otter, yeah, it was an otter. They're cute little fellas, eh? Yeah, really, really bloody. Looked like he was almost, you could have gone and patted him, mate. He looked like he was almost tame. So anyway, yeah, we don't get them over here in Australia. Wish we did. They're cute little things. Anyway, what have we got to talk about? The weather. Let's do the weather. Let's do the weather, everyone. Well, I'm on a roll. I'm going to go and throw a stubby cooler at the cat if she keeps that shit up. 9 o'clock on the dot in Innisfail, everyone. It's sunny and 20 degrees at 9 o'clock in the morning. Not bad for a winter's morning, isn't it? I think we've had our 3 days of winter up here. Toronto, slacking at 7 o'clock last night. 24 and sunny in Toronto, so that's nice weather. Nice weather up there. Bustleton, Western Australia, over where my daughter is. Oh, chilly this morning, 7 o'clock in the morning over in Bustleton. West Aussie's 2 hours behind the East Coast. 9 degrees and cloudy. Wow. Mike Blakely, Denver, Colorado, everyone. I don't know if Mike's on yet. Keep an eye out for him. 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon in Denver. It's warm there. They've had a warm summer up there. 36 and cloudy in Denver, Colorado. That's a hot day. Portland, Oregon, where John is. Well, near where John is. 31 degrees and scattered clouds in Portland, Oregon, USA. John came out the other day, said it's 90 degrees, everyone. On his latest clip, he goes, it's 90 degrees, it's a hot day, and he's got a flannelette shirt on, a long sleeve flannelette shirt on over his T-shirt. Although it's bloody 90 degrees Fahrenheit. What's that about? Probably 35, 36 or something. And he's got a T-shirt on and a long sleeve flannelette shirt over the top. No wonder it was bloody hot, John. You're wearing a flannelette shirt. My God. Auckland, over the ditch. Phil Weber, 14 degrees in Auckland. It's already 11 o'clock Sunday morning over there. They're 2 hours ahead in New Zealand. Melbourne, 9 o'clock in the morning. All the east coast of Australia's the same at the moment. I like when we're all on the same time and not on daylight savings down south. 9 o'clock in the morning, 11 and cloudy in Melbourne. Sydney, 11 and cloudy, same as Melbourne. Launceston, Lukey Reid, it is scattered clouds, bit of sun there at the moment, and 7 degrees at 9 o'clock in the morning down in northern Tasmania, where Lukey is. Joshy Hatch, Adelaide, South Australia, 8:32 in the morning. They're half an hour behind us because they're Central Australian time. 13 and cloudy in Adelaide. Darwin, sunny and 23 in Darwin. They're 8:32. They're on Central time as well. Always bloody sunny and warm up in Darwin, isn't it? Perth, 7 o'clock in the morning, 8 degrees in Perth. Brisbane, all you Brisbaneites, 9 o'clock in the morning, same as East Coast time, 15 degrees and cloudy. Ravenshoe, up the road where I go to Woodley Station, sunny and 19 degrees. That'd be beautiful camping weather up there at Ravenshoe. I've got to try and get up there again one more time before it gets hot, everyone, and do another Woodley Station camp, I think, at a different campsite and come up with a few different cook-ups, I think, this time. Clairview, the Barra Crab. I've still got this on my phone. I don't need it on there anymore. 20 degrees and cloudy at the Barra Crab. And we're back to Innisfail, sunny and 20 degrees here in Innisfail. Who did I miss? East Coast Camp Chasers. G'day. Sad news coming out of Drifter Draws factory in Gloucester recently. Hopefully things turn around for them. Yeah, we're going to talk about that East Coast Camp Chasers. That's one of my big topics this morning, which I'll talk about after the footy scores, mate. Mike Blakely is on. G'day, Mike. How are you? 35. Pretty warm day over there today for you, mate. You've had quite a hot summer. Probably nothing out of the ordinary. Toddy Higginson, morning, Buck, and community. Yeah, g'day, Toddy. How are you, mate? Big Trav, over speaking of West Aussie, Big Trav's on, everyone. G'day, Trav. How are you, mate? Bloody good to see you on. We'll have to do a live feed one night and talk old copper stuff. Trav's ex-West Aussie copper, everyone, and did time up in Aboriginal communities in Western Australia. And I did time in Aboriginal communities as a Queensland cop. And we were comparing bloody cop stories at the Perth Four-Wheel Drive show. Hey, Trav, I'm going to be over there again this year, mate. I'm coming over to see Lauren. Going to be over in West Aussie for a month in November. And I'm going to fly in the day before the Perth Four-Wheel Drive show starts. So hopefully, if you're there, mate, we'll catch up for another chat at the Perth Four-Wheel Drive show this year. I like that Four-Wheel Drive show. It's a bloody beauty. Get to catch up with Cam and Tiff, and I'm sure they'll be at the show. And see if I can get bloody Pete from WA Camp, and he doesn't normally go to them. I'm going to go, come on, Pete, we'll go into the Four-Wheel Drive show. And first time I met Pete was at the Perth Four-Wheel Drive show, and they had the blow-up bar there. It was a blow-up boozer, and it was like a castle or whatever, a blow-up castle, but they turned it into a bar. And me and Pete had a few beers at the blow-up at the blow-up bar at the Perth Four-Wheel Drive show many years ago. That's the first time I met Pete. Yeah, so anyway, the footy scores. Been some good footy games on this weekend. Rugby league, if you're from down south, everyone. How's the Dockers are still on top of the ladder, I think. I haven't seen any Aussie rule scores. Have not seen an Aussie rule score this weekend. Haven't even seen the news. Anyway, so what happened? The Cowboys bounced back from their biggest ever defeat last week, 82-12. They got flogged. Anyway, they came back and put in a good performance against the Titans. The Titans were at home. Cowboys 30, Titans 8. So the Cowboys are back up in the 8, everyone. Can you believe that shit? They don't deserve to be there, but they are still in the 8. I think the winner of the competition is going to come from the top 4. We all know that. And at the moment, the Warriors are looking good. New Zealand, the Wars, as they call them, New Zealand Warriors and the Sydney Roosters are the 2 hot teams. Penrith, they'll come good, but don't write Penrith off yet. Mind you, their captain, Isaiah Yao, or whatever his name is, he's out for the rest of the year. So Penrith might struggle. I think could it be New Zealand's year this year? I wouldn't mind seeing the Wars win it. The Dolphins are still in there too. Warriors 28, Panthers 12. So that was a good game. The Warriors come out and they're the 2 big boys on the block, and the Warriors did them on the weekend. Warriors were at home and did them 28-12. So yeah, Penrith might be. Yeah, they started off good, didn't they? Penrith didn't look like anyone was going to beat them, and they've been beaten a few times now. Even the Cowboys beat them. Roosters. This was a good game, actually. Roosters 20, Bulldogs 18. Russ and Brett's Bulldogs are out of the 8 again now. The Bulldogs have got 4 games left, everyone, and they're all away from home. The Dogs need to win their games or they're going to miss the 8. The Cowboys are going to beat them into the 8. The Doggies are out of the 8 at the moment. Storm, 42, they're out this year. Manly, Paulie Martin's Manly, they started off like a house on fire at the start of the year and have just gone shit the last 6 weeks or so. Storm 42, Manly 20. So I think Manly's gone for the year now. Last night, great game last night. The Broncos got off the fly. The Broncos were Brisbane Broncos 24-0 up after about 20 minutes. Anyway, the Dolphins come back, fins up. Roz's Dolphins 40, Broncos 32. So the Broncos are gone for the year. Definitely, they were gone last week. There's no way they can make the 8. Dolphins can still make the top 4, everyone, if they keep winning. So Dolphins 40, Broncos 32. That was a good game. And then this was a good game too. South Sydney Rabbitohs 28, Parramatta Eels 24, Marky Lavelle's Eels. They came in there and they put up a good show, the Eels, last night. And today we got Canberra Raiders versus Newcastle Knights. That'll be a good game. And the Dragons and the Sharks. So I think the Sharks will win that one. So there's the footy at the moment. The Cowboys. Jennifer G. G'day, Jennifer. The Cowboys are in the top 8. Can you believe that after getting beaten 82-12? No way they're going to win the grand final. I reckon any team that's ever been beaten by 50 points during the season has never won a grand final. So there you go. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Turn the ceiling fan on. As soon as you close the window, you got to bloody turn the. Well, I haven't got the window closed, just got the curtain drawn, so it's getting a bit bloody stuffy in here. Geelong Cats had a weird. Geelong's up around the top 4, aren't they? Susan Tully. G'day, Susan. Hi, Buck from Murwillumbah, just over the border near the Gold Coast, down in Murwillumbah. Susan Tully. I thought you might have been Shane Tully's, the Jim's tyre man in Townsville, everyone, who put new tyres on Nutty's Raptor the other day. Nutty had he's got some he had an alignment problem. One of his tyres scrubbed out, one of his KO2s, and then he got a razor blade, a Stanley knife blade through his other one, and it was too big to patch. So anyway, Shane came out and put 4 brand new 33-inch, what were they? Maxxis Razor all-terrains. They look good too on Nutty's Raptor. So we got Jim's tyres out to do that. And his name's Shane Tully. So I don't know if he's a related Susan. But Jim's Tyres in Townsville is Shane Tully. So there you go. Jeffrey Keane, g'day from Toowoomba. Jeff saying jump ship. Yeah, the Broncos are going shit. Graham Whittaker, Broncos girls play like the Raiders today. Well, we'll see how they go. That's going to be a good game. What is it? Raiders and Knights. That's going to be a cracking game today, and it's in Canberra. That'll be a really, really good game. So Joshy Hat saying, Blackers, that would have been a tough game against the Wooden Spooner. So Geelong beat the Wooden Spoon. Who's on the bottom of the ladder? Is it Carlton? Or I don't know. But anyway, Brisbane, the Dockers played this weekend. Did the Dockers have another win, or are they playing today, everyone? If you follow that. Hey, Richo, how are you, mate? Anyway, let's get on with it. Let's keep cracking because our special guest is going to be coming on soon. I haven't seen the name come up yet. Now, the other day on Friday, Luke from Drifter, everyone, came on and did a short video and announced that Drifter is closing down. Now, I'm out of the loop on the Drifter thing at the moment, everyone, but we're talking about Drifter draws. On my old channel, I actually did a walkthrough the Drifter Draws factory with Luke's dad, John Sutton, everyone, who I still keep in touch with. John, actually. Ran into him at Bowen, of all things, at the Chinese restaurant a couple of years ago. Me and John, I often hear from John saying, "G'day, Buck, how are you?" And that lovely guy, John. Anyway, he actually also sent me the video of Luke, and I'd already seen it by then. It popped up in one of the pop-up things. Anyway, Luke came on and basically, I think he said they've Drifter Draws. I've been making Drifter Draws for about 27 years. And big shed there, big factory at Gloucester, employed quite a few people doing all the draws. And let's face it, they were very good quality draws, everyone. The Drifter Draws had a very, very good name. And unfortunately, you just keep hearing about it. Every time you turn the news on now, there's another company going down the gurgler, Australian company going down the gurgler because they can't afford to manufacture in this country anymore. And Luke laid it out. He was very, very honest in his video of what he was up against, everyone. And years ago, me and Luke were talking, everyone. We had a falling out, as you know, over friggin' COVID of all things. But anyway, when we were talking, Luke was always telling me about some of the challenges he was up against, especially with the dot factory when they were doing drifter camper trailers. Just the same old thing. Insurances, electricity, the cost of materials going up, people not turning up to work, people bloody chucking sickies all the time, people going on workers' compo and then looking for payouts. You're just up against it, everyone. Just up against it. Unfortunately, the Drifter Draws, I didn't see this one coming. He's closing it down, everyone. Now, the canvas bag part of thing, I didn't realise he's moved the Drifter canvas bags over into Drifter Stockton, which is a different company. So I think about the only thing that survives of Drifter now is the Drifter Draws. I don't know if they do kitchens anymore. I don't think, I guess the kitchens will be going. He didn't mention the kitchens, but Drifter Draws is closing down after 27 years. He's called in the administrators. So he hasn't gone into liquidation. He's just called the administrators in because everything's just getting too hard to manufacture there at Gloucester. Let's go through a few of the points. One of the big ones, the cost of electricity for any manufacturing. The cost of electricity in this country is out of control. Yeah, he did, Nathan. Luke looked shattered, and it was he had to have a break. I think he broke down at one. It was pretty sad to watch, actually. I don't like seeing any bloody Aussie company come on and telling everyone they've got to close down because of shit that's could have been avoidable if our politicians did the right thing. It was a hard watch, Nathan. It was. You all know, if you follow me, you know, I don't speak to Luke anymore, but I don't wish the guy any bad stuff. And I certainly don't like to see anything business-wise going wrong. It's he's worked hard for that company, worked real hard. It's been his life, and it's sad to see. G'day, Russ. How are you, mate? Russ is at work again. Yeah, so it was sad. The cost of electricity. If we don't do something about the cost of electricity in this country, my God, we're going to have no manufacturing, and we're going to be, our special guest going to be telling us all about that soon. What else is going? Wages. The answer to everything, because the cost of living's out of control in this country, the cost of groceries, the cost of diesel, the cost of electricity. What's the answer? Everyone think the answer is, let's just keep banging the wages up. That's not the answer, everyone. Banging wages up so everyone's getting $100,000 a year plus is not the answer. That is the reason we're in this predicament. People can't afford to employ people anymore because the wages are getting too high. Everyone just keeps demanding higher wages. We wouldn't need to demand higher wages if we started addressing some of the other things, like the cost of electricity, the cost of groceries, the cost of fuel, the cost of insurances, and all the rest of it. If all that shit wasn't out of control, we wouldn't have to keep banging on about getting higher wages. We've been doing it for a long time now. It's people can't afford to put people on and employ people anymore because of the cost of the wages are getting too high. People will disagree with me on that, but I'll argue with you over it. People go, we need our wages to be high because of the. What I just said is if our government addressed the cost of living crisis like they've said they would a million times and have done absolutely fucking nothing about it, we wouldn't need to keep banging on about trying to get higher wages. So wages, insurances, the cost of insurances, and Luke touched on this. He said it's getting to the stage, and I'm going to bang on about Australians here, everyone. And can you be racist against your own race? We are becoming a bunch of lazy, self-entitled assholes. And you see it all the time. The old chuck-a-sickie thing, chuck-a-sickie. Well, when you're an employer like Luke, you can't afford to have lazy pricks chucking sickies all the time. When you're an employer and you've got to manufacture stuff, you can't have your staff going sick all the time. And as Luke said, they go sick, next minute they're on workers' compo, and then they're looking for a payout because they've nicked their finger with a Stanley knife or something. And then the cost of his insurances, his liability insurances, was out of control because everyone now seems to, he said, every time someone doesn't want to turn up to work, right, they find a way to go on workers' compo and then call the lawyers in. And the lawyers try and get them a big payout. Where do you think that money comes from? The insurance companies that Luke has to pay a premium to. His liability insurances, and he did mention it, per month was something astronomical. And he said, I couldn't afford to keep paying insurance premiums for liability insurance because every Australian now, as soon as something goes wrong with them, that job that I used to be in, every time I speak to people from there, there's like 1 million of them away on stress leave. If you can't do that, if you're that stressed and you can't turn up to work, fucking go and get a new job, everyone. Go and get a new job. If you don't like the job you're in and you're starting to chuck sickies and don't want to be there and that, go and get a new job. That's not for you, that job. The dot factory. Luke told me one day, he said, mate, one of the blokes in the dot factory, he said it was a Friday afternoon and it was raining and there was a small leak in the roof and there was a puddle of water. And he said one of the union rep type bloke, everyone's becoming a union rep now, said we're going to stop work. There's a leak in the roof. We're going to stop work. It's unsafe because there was a bit of water leaking onto the floor in the dot factory. And Luke said, it's Friday afternoon. I'm not going to be able to get a roofer in now to fix the leak in the roof. He said, I'll do it first thing Monday morning. Can we just put a bucket under there just so that the water doesn't spill? Use a bit of common sense. There's a leak coming down. Put a bucket under there so it doesn't spill on the floor. No, we're down on tools. This is unsafe. That's the type of shit he was up against. And then he found another arsehole stealing diesel from him filling his own vehicle up with Luke's diesel. That was for the work vehicles. So he had to sack that guy for stealing from him. So I remember Luke saying to me on the phone, he said, this is a bloke, I'm employing him so he can support his family, and the guy's stealing from me. And as an employer, you cannot have that shit. So the whole Aussie, it's getting out of control. We're becoming lazy, self-entitled bunch of arseholes here in this country. We really are. I'll go off track a bit. There's a guy he's an Irish lad called Ian Dowling, everyone. And he's currently on a stand-up comedy tour. Irish guy, been living here 20 years. He was down on the Gold Coast as a labourer. Anyway, he made a joke, and he's a funny guy, and he came out and he took the piss out, taking the piss he was, bit of banter. He said, I thought all you Aussie tradies were big tough guys and that. He said, as soon as it starts sprinkling rain, you're down tools and don't want to work and go to the pub. He said, I thought, what happened to these big tough Aussies? Guess what? They sacked him from his job as a labourer because he was taking the piss out of Aussie tradies down on tools as soon as it starts to sprinkle. So he said, I'll stick it in your ass. I'm going to get on my push bike and push bike around Australia and do stand-up comedy. He rode his bike from the Gold Coast, and he's got as far as Townsville doing stand-up comedy, and his bike got stolen the other night in Townsville, the poor bastard. So now the community's getting together to go fund him a new push bike, and there's a push bike company in Townsville that's going to sort him out with a good deal on a new push bike so he can keep doing his stand-up tour. And I remember sending him a message and said, mate, when you come through Innisfail, I'd love to shout your coffee. Have a half-hour break and I'll shout your coffee or whatever. So a really nice guy. Another, you'll probably all know him, Sam Bamford, a very outspoken guy that's on there and is always having a crack at the politicians. Sam Bamford, a lot of you probably know who I'm talking about. When he first left the army, he's told this story in one of his podcasts. He was on a work site down in South Australia and it started sprinkling rain. He was a labourer, and the union rep guys are going, mate, it's starting to sprinkle, down tools. He said, what? They're going, no, we don't work in the rain. He goes, it's not fucking, it's just drizzling a bit, lads. No, down tools, or we're going to get the fucking union boss over to have a chat to you. And Sam's ex-army, and he said, well, go and get the union boss then. So the union boss comes over on the work site and said, mate, you got to down tools. It's starting to rain, starting to sprinkle. He said, mate, I'm just digging holes. That doesn't affect me digging holes. No, it's unsafe and all this. And then Sam said, mate, when it started raining in Afghanistan, we didn't down our rifles because it was unsafe, or when it started snowing, or when it got below minus 20 degrees Celsius up in the mountains, we didn't down tools, or when it got to 50 degrees Celsius in summer over in Afghanistan, we didn't down tools. We still had to go out and fight a war. Anyway, he ended up quitting that job or got sacked or something. He said, well, you sacked me then. And now he's doing podcasts. But he said he could not believe the attitude. I understand if you're working in high-rise buildings, everyone, and it's raining and there's a slip risk and all that, I get it. But when you're out at ground level digging a hole or whatever, it's not safe. And we're just using that type of shit as an excuse not to work now. We're just becoming a lazy pack of arseholes. And if there's any tradies out there, I'll debate you on it any day. I've worked in the rain lots of times. I've been in gun pits with water up to me waist, everyone. In the minutes thinking, how good's this job? It's freezing cold. I'm in a gun pit up to me waist in water on gun picket. We didn't down tools then. We had to crack through and get the job done. So all the tradies out there, you don't get a lot of sympathy from ex-military people because the old infantry motto, regardless of season, weather, or terrain. That's one of the parts of the infantry motto, to seek out and close with the enemy, to kill or capture him, to repel attack by day and night, regardless of season, weather, or terrain. Regardless of season, weather, or terrain. So in the military, you don't down tools when the going gets tough. But that's what's happening now. I'm going off track there, aren't I? Cost of buildings. The cost of the sheds that Luke built for his thing, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I remember when he was building, it might have been the drawers factory or the dot factory, the big shed there at Gloucester, the battles that he had with the local council to get those sheds built. He said the red tape that he had to go through to try and build a shed so that he could start producing stuff. This is a little country New South Wales town. Luke's trying to bring manufacturing to the town, and the local council were just making it an absolute nightmare for him to build another big shed so that he could bring manufacturing to the town and bring employment to the town and give employment. I think someone said the Drifter was like the largest employer in Gloucester. So you reckon the local council would be on board with him and trying to make things easier because he's trying to do the right thing by the town? No. And then all the water pressure wasn't good enough, so they wouldn't sign off because the fire hydrants and the fire hoses didn't have enough pressure. And then the friggin' council didn't want to do anything about improving the water pressure to his site so that he could get these factories up and running. Yeah. Sick leave, we talked about that. People rorting the system, getting an easy out now, going on stress leave, nick their finger, go on workers' compo, get a big, huge payout so they don't have to work anymore. Insurances for the buildings, everyone. The buildings need to be insured. And then, as if the federal government aren't bending you over and giving it to you with a rough end of the pineapple, the state government wants to get involved with payroll taxes. So he said, payroll taxes, you get punished for employing people. If you go over a certain threshold, you've got to start paying payroll taxes, and it's a state or territory tax, which is bullshit and should be removed. If you are employing people like Luke did in Gloucester, you should be rewarded for doing that with lower taxes and incentives for employing people. And then the other big one, the guy who used to run his drawer factory and do all the fit outs of four-wheel drives with, was a bloke called Beachy, everyone. I've met Beachy a couple of times. Very, very good man. A couple of years ago, Beachy got cancer. So Luke's right-hand man Luke didn't even have to worry about the drawers and all that type of stuff. Creaky ran the kitchens. Beachy ran the drawers and they used to fit out high-ace vans and put kitchens in them and all that type of stuff. Luke didn't have to worry about that because he had some really good offsiders that used to just do it for him. Beachy got cancer, everyone, and had to leave the job. And then Luke had to come in and start running the drawer factory. He's trying to run Drifter Stockton, but then he just hasn't got enough of himself to try and run everything. So he lost a good guy in Beachy. We wish Beachy, if you ever see this, mate, we wish you all the best, mate. We hope you beat the big C. It's a horrible. We all know someone who's got it, don't we? So, and then Luke tried to get another manager in for the drawers factory, and then he'd get people that didn't want to move. Well, he didn't want to move to Gloucester because it's a little country town. He said if I was in Newcastle, probably would have had a better shot. He said, but then you get someone who wants to come out and start running the drawers factory for him as a manager, can't find a rental home in Gloucester, can't find a house to rent, which is another problem, isn't it? We all know the housing crisis in Australia at the moment, not only to buy a house and the bullshit price of a house, you can't rent a house. And if you can rent a house, it's almost out of control. It takes most of your pay up. So it's absolutely ridiculous. So Luke's had to make the call to bring the administrators in, everyone, because he's up against it. He is up against a lot of things. Anyway, let's hopefully he finds a buyer for it. Hopefully someone comes in and buys the Drifter drawers and keeps the factory going, and Luke can then concentrate with Drifter Stockton and all that type of stuff. This is why people don't want to manufacture in this country anymore. It is easier for Luke to go and just put an order of camping gear in from China, get container loads of it in on a ship, and stock his stores up with it and sell stuff. Because all he has to do is order, pay, and sell. I know there's probably a few other things there. He's got some staff there to run his stores, no doubt. But it's going to be a lot less stressful than trying to manufacture all the draw systems and that. And that's why a lot of people are doing it now, everyone. Kick ass, all that. We don't manufacture. It's just easier to go to China. And it started 20, 30 years ago, didn't it? We started importing. All the camping companies now, all the camping companies, all these Dashi swags and all these things, they're all out of China. There's a few there's a couple of awning companies where I think the awnings are made here in Australia. Not sure about Bushwhacker make some, and Super Peg make their awnings as well. But it's just easier to go overseas. It's less hassle. It's just easier for Luke to get on and put an order of Chinese-made drawers in than trying to deal with all that shit. People going sick on you, people stealing your diesel, all the insurance thing. It's like, I've run a business too, me and Roz, for 2.5 years. It was only a cafe, everyone. But it was, when you run your own business, and I know a lot of you will back me up on this, we used to run a busy little cafe. It was a busy cafe. And we used to just, at the end of the week, you'd go, by the time you paid your wages, your electricity, your insurances, your GST and all that, we didn't have to pay payroll taxes. We were under the threshold because we're only a small little business. Luke would be over the threshold. And you just, at the end of the week, you go, well, is that all that's left over after we've paid everyone else? And Roz and I just, after 2.5 years, went, we're sick of busting our gut to reward everyone else, and we'll get nothing out of it. The owners of the cafe who put all the hard work in, we'll get nothing out of it, everyone. And I mean nothing. We're coming out even at the end of the day, and, you know, the girls got paid. We paid them a good wage. The electricity just kept getting dearer and dearer. I'd hate to think what the electricity on a cafe would be now. The electricity costs were bad back then, back in 2008 to 2011. I imagine what they're like now. Just ridiculous. Anyway, John saying 1972, US President Nixon went to China, and it opened up slowly after that, trade restrictions, and then loosened up in the 1990s. Yeah. Wait, everything in Australia now, John, just about is from China, mate. We've got everything. You go to Super Cheap Auto, Bunnings, BCF, anywhere, everything is out of China. And when COVID hit and the ships weren't coming in, our shelves were bare here, and that's when it really hit home. You couldn't even buy a Disso wipe because they were all out of China. Yeah, that's how China wants it. Undercut everything, wait for all the competition to go out of business, and then raise the prices as far as you can. Yeah, I know. We're too far gone now. I don't think there's any bringing it back, everyone. I don't think there's any bringing it back. So anyway, I'm going to put righto. So I'm hoping to have my granddaughter on, everyone. Ellie, last time you saw her, she was probably 11 years old and out camping with me. She's now 19 and she's at uni, and she's doing some study, everyone. Ellie's at uni doing very well, studying business, and she just did a big, and we'll get Ellie to talk about this. Chrissy Burns, g'day, Chrissy. Sad to hear about Drifter and Beachy. Yeah, Beachy's got cancer, has had for a little while. That's right. Jeff and Chrissy's van that they had at the Camping with Mates, that was fitted out by Beachy at Drifter. That's right. I forgot about that, Chrissy. Yeah, wonderful. And as I said, now it's when you can go in and buy a set of Titan drawers for $350 from Super Cheap Auto, how does Luke, selling a set of $3,000 drawers made out of plywood, how does he compete against that? Everyone, how does he compete against that? I don't know. What do you do? And that, yeah, so at least the Drifter drawers were made here in Australia, everyone, by Aussies. You get some of these big four-wheel drive companies now, ARB and all that, they've got all these $3,000 drawer systems too, and I'm pretty sure they're not made in Australia. Correct me if I'm wrong, off-road system. They're probably imported from China, but they still charge the big Aussie prices. At least Luke's drawers were actually made here in Australia at Gloucester. So as I said, unfortunately, every time you turn the news on now, there's another company gone down the gurgler. It happens all the time. Every time you drive into town, there's another little business closed down. The government have got to address 3 things, everyone. Electricity. He come on the other day, the Prime Minister, saying we've done tax cuts, and it was like $5 a week. Whoopee-doo. It's not even a coffee. If you're going to make a change, people want to see $100 or $200 a week difference. You need to notice it. Disagree, Buck. Anything is possible. Oh, I don't know, John. Might be a bit different in America, mate. It might be a different. We're too far gone here, mate. We're too far gone. We're too far gone. How do we, even if we change governments in 2 years' time, One Nation get in, it's going to take a long time to swing it around. And we're going to talk about it if she ever comes on and clicks the link. My granddaughter, Ellie, did a study at university, everyone, into 2 big companies in Australia and the challenges that they face. And here she comes now. I'm going to add her onto the stage. I forgot what she looks like. I haven't seen her for that long, everyone. This is my granddaughter, Elizabeth, Phil's daughter. G'day, Ellie.
Hey.
Oh, I can't hear you.
Oh, really?
No, it's only because it's because I had when I've got this thing plugged in, my external microphone, I can't hear. So I've just had to unplug that for now. How you going, all right? Can you hear me?
I'm hearing 2 of you. Just give me 2 seconds.
Yeah, that's good. I can hear you now. How's that?
Okay. All right.
I've got you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I'm just hearing. It's okay. You just doubled up a little bit.
Oh, that's all right. There's if you go into settings, there's a thing called echo cancellation, and you can do the echo cancellation there. Go into the settings button and look for echo cancellation.
Yeah.
Hopefully that will stop that echoey thing in your headphones. No?
Hasn't, but
is it work? It's workable, you reckon?
It should be right.
All right, we'll battle through. How you been? All right?
Yeah, I've been good. How have you been?
Yeah, going good. Good to see you again. And there's probably a few people on here that probably used to watch the videos when you and Bill used to come camping. Ellie's in Townsville, if you're wondering, everyone, at her house in Townsville at the moment.
Yeah.
And you are, just to fill us in, Ellie, you've left school now, and this is your first year at university at James Cook University in Townsville.
Yes. Oh, sorry, it's like echoing a little bit, but yes, I am studying as a first year in a Bachelor of Business.
Yeah. Bachelor of Business. What made you want to do that, Ellie?
I don't know. I just kind of like, at school when I was doing those subjects, in grade 11, this is really hard. It's really echoey. Give me 2 seconds. I'll see if I can't just like take my headphones out or something.
All right. Maybe the headphones.
Yeah, hold on. I wonder if I can't just like.
John's watching from the USA, Ellie. He said, "Don't take technical tips from an old man, Ellie." There is a thing in the settings called echo cancellation. I always just click on that thing. And go to settings, audio.
Can you hear me?
It should be echo cancellation should be ticked.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you loud and clear.
All right, this is better. I took my headphones out.
All right. No, everyone can hear you okay. All right, so you're doing a Bachelor of Business at university. You did some subjects at school, and how's it going? What are you aiming to do when you leave university? What's your end goal?
Well, I decided to major in management because it kind of gives you like a broad overview of all the aspects of business. So I haven't necessarily decided exactly what I want to do. I know that business definitely interests me, and I know I want to do something in business, but what I want to specialize in, I'm not 100% sure on. But what I've done so far being like operations management, and I'm thinking like econometrics, so being like an economist. I'm thinking more on the analytical side of business, possibly somewhere in finance. But I reckon I'm going to finish my first and second year, and that's like all your main subjects done pretty much, as well as your major subjects, and then kind of decide after that, and then see if I want to, do anything like any sort of advanced education after that to specialize in like a certain field. But I'm definitely leaning towards more numbers, more analysis, more finance kind of.
Yeah.
If that,
I'm going to say this now in case I forget to say it. I thought about this last night. Us old guys, Ellie, you're Gen Z. We sit back and we go, oh, they're lazy. They don't want to do anything. And we rubbish the young kids of today, how they're lazy. They don't want to work. I know you're totally the opposite of that. You are a hard worker. But at the end of the day, what are you cracking a beer?
What? No.
I thought you just cracked a beer. Anyway, so
it's 9 o'clock.
I don't know if you've noticed, but the country's in a bit of a mess at the moment, and the people who got it into the mess are old people, Gen Xers like me, boomers and Gen Xers. And I was thinking about it last night. I thought, we can sit back and rubbish all the young kids like you, but it's us old guys that have managed to get the country into the mess it is in. Have a look at our politicians that call the shots. They're all around my age, Ellie, and they're not doing a real good job. And I just thought maybe we need young kids like you coming through at university with new attitudes and with a different view of how things should run. Is that something you talk about at uni? Do you talk about the state of the country at the moment at university?
We've definitely addressed, I think when I was doing a lot of like this manufacturing subject, it was in the midst of that Strait of Hormuz issue in Iran or wherever it is. So we definitely do address political stances, but in no way do we like point fingers, if that makes sense. It's hard not to miss that our country's in a bit of shambles at the moment. But I definitely think like it's not just like old people. Like I know that our government is mainly, that type, but there's a lot of people in my generation that agree with what they're doing as well. So it's not, unfortunately, it is a combination of both, but I definitely think there needs to be a change. And I think my generation's probably going to be the one that does step in to make those changes.
Well, you're gonna have to do it, Ellie, and it's good to hear that. We need the country needs good economists and people that are good with numbers and people with new visions on how to take the country forward. And you just recently did what do you call it, a paper or an assignment at university on two big Australian companies and some of the challenges that they face about manufacturing in this country. And it's probably two companies we all have heard about. You want to tell us the two companies?
Well, I did 2 case studies, one on BlueScope Steel, which is an Australian manufacturing company, and Bega Cheese, which is also an Australian manufacturing company. They're on very different ends of the manufacturing spectrum, I suppose. One's more on food and one's more on like the infrastructural elements of, the backbone of our country kind of thing. But I mainly focused on BlueScope Steel just because they had, a lot more challenges that I could kind of address. Bega Cheese still does, but it's a little bit easier being like a food manufacturing company. Like I say that loosely. But yeah, essentially I just like writing a case study about BlueScope Steel. The whole purpose of it was to identify issues within their supply chain and then like implement changes and how you can I guess resolve those issues in like a company spectrum. Obviously, like out of your control, you can't really do much about that. But if you can change anything internally, how is that gonna benefit the company more? But essentially, I just found a lot more problems than was solvable for them.
That's not good to hear, eh? You want to hear every company's going to have problems, Ellie, but you need to the people need to go, or our politicians need to come up with solutions to make it easier to manufacture. And we keep hearing it. It's harder and harder. After I spoke to you on the phone yesterday, I did a bit of Googling. For those who don't know, everyone, BlueScope Steel, as it is based at Port Kembla in New South Wales. And as we know, BHP don't have any steel works in Newcastle anyway. Newcastle used to be known as the Steel City. That's all closed down now. And our only steel manufacturing plant currently open at the moment is BlueScope Steel at Port Kembla. The other one at Whyalla in South Australia, Ellie, I don't know if you knew this or not, it closed down. It was up against all the problems you're going to talk about, but apparently at the end of this year, September onwards, there's 2 potential buyers for Whyalla Steelworks in South Australia, and we need, let's face it, we need another steelworks up and running in this country, and it could be an Australian coal company that's buying it, or there's also an Indian billionaire that's eyeing off reopening Whyalla and getting that back up and running. At the end of the day, it's important that it does get back up and running. It'd be good to see another steelworks. We don't want to see steelworks closing down in this country. We want to see them reopening. What are some of the biggest challenges facing BlueScope Steel? And let's face it, we all know Aussie steel is some of the best steel in the world. And if you didn't know, there's another little side cut of that steel company, BlueScope, called Biz Alloy. They just got a $2 million contract with the American Navy to provide plate steel for the Virginia-class submarines because our steel is very, very good. But you're going to talk about some of the challenges of us exporting our steel to the United States. I know you're going to talk about that soon. So BlueScope Steel, at the moment, our only steel producing place, it's a bloody massive, it's a massive setup. I watched a little YouTube clip on BlueScope Steel last night and how they make steel. There's a lot goes into it. What are the big challenges, Ellie?
Well, there's a lot of challenges that they face. There's one main one that I'll probably address right at the end there, but that kind of impacts the company as a whole and creates all these many challenges. But I suppose, like, given this whole oil crisis with the Strait of Hormuz and everything, obviously that's impacted a lot of Australians' day-to-day lives, you know, as fuel prices have increased and so have you. However, for a company such as BlueScope that relies heavily on transportation of steel throughout their supply chain, they rely on like heavy diesel transportation, so a lot of trucks, a lot of maritime activities, you know, like boats and ships and all the rest for imports and exports. So obviously diesel prices increasing because of those geopolitical tensions overseas, like fluctuates those prices, and that just increases, you know, just continues to give them an issue monetarily. What else? We've also got another big issue is like from competitors overseas. So a lot of commodity steel companies, a lot of like Chinese made steel that are being sold at significantly lower prices than, say, a quality steel like what BlueScope produces. They face a lot of competition from them. So it's kind of, I'll get to it at the end. There's a point to this. Also, their raw material supply. BlueScope is very vulnerable to disruptions in the supply chain. So what happens is that Australia is like a gold mine of all these natural resources that could 100% fuel our manufacturing industry, especially for steel here in Australia. However, we end up exporting a lot of these raw materials, like our coking coal, you know, like our iron, to wherever. And then BlueScope ends up having to buy a lot of it back. They do still rely on like WA mines for like iron ore and coal and everything. However, they have to buy back a lot more of those resources than what they should need to. We should be supporting them in what we have here as a country, which we have surplus of, instead of shipping it away and then having to buy it back. It doesn't make sense, but they are very vulnerable to the disruptions in that supply chain, because when they're buying it back, say there is, another blockade or anything, that they're limited in all their supplies, right? Because we aren't, as a country, providing for them to keep them going as an industry.
Our steel company, Ellie, tell me if you agree, our steel company, like BlueScope's the only one at the moment, Whyalla, when it opens up, they should be first priority for top quality iron ore out of Western Australia and top quality coking coal, our top quality coal out of Queensland and New South Wales. They should be top priority, not given the priority to export overseas. Your dad's a coal miner. He said we send all our good coal over to India and China.
Yeah, so what's happened as of recently, within the past couple of years, is we do send our good quality coal away. We export it out. And then recently, because of environmental standards, which I'll touch on a little bit, we have transitioned from normal blast furnaces, which use that coking coal, which can heat up really quickly and melt, smelt the iron quicker, whatever. We've transitioned from traditional blast furnaces to electric arc furnaces, which is just all electricity, a lot of energy, which is, not only just offsetting all the emissions that I suppose they would release, but it's causing more damage than good, because they have to, they have to inject these furnaces with coking coal anyways, but they use thermal coal instead, because coking coal has been all exported and they don't have enough, which apparently isn't as good quality of a coal as, say, coking coal is. So meeting those high temperatures enough to melt iron and, create steel takes significantly longer and creates a lot more issues carbon-wise than coking coal would anyways.
Well, yeah, thermal coal burns, correct me if I'm wrong, thermal coal burns dirtier than the cleaner coking coal.
Yeah, exactly right. So the steel that they're producing could be 100% top quality, but they're limited by where our coal is actually going and where our resources are actually going, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Phil Taylor in the comments here, Ellie, Phil said we shouldn't even have to mention this. And it's true. We're sitting here stating the obvious, Ellie, but our country's doing the opposite. Like, we know that we should be providing the best iron ore from West Aussie and the best coal from Queensland and New South Wales to our smelters and that, but we're sending it overseas. So what we think is common sense, our governments aren't doing that. Is there more money to export it? Like, why are they doing that?
Well, it all comes down to our environmental standards. What I've found anyways is everything leads back to no carbon emissions by 2050 and all that jazz, our Paris Agreement and everything. So this was my main point. Everything to do with why manufacturing in Australia has either dwindled significantly or has ceased completely is because of the environmental standards here. The government enforces environmental policies. So, having goals every year to meet specific carbon emissions. And then, it's just, it all adds into that. I kind of lost my train of thought there, but essentially what happens is every year they have that carbon emission goal. So BlueScope Steel can 100% manufacture top quality, a lot. Like back in the, Back in the 1980s, they were producing around 10 million metric tons of steel. Now, BlueScope only has a capacity of 3 million metric tons, which isn't that they only have a capacity of 3 million metric tons. They can definitely produce way more than that. But because of these carbon emission targets every year, they can only produce up to that target, if that makes sense. So say it was 45% carbon emissions that they were allowed to release or whatever, they can only produce as much steel as that carbon emission will allow them to. So they can, if they wanted to, they could produce 5.7 million metric tons of steel, right, and significantly contribute and like to our Australian demand for steel. But instead, these carbon emissions are infringing that ability. So they can only manufacture as much as these environmental standards will allow, which is why I think Australia as a whole isn't working together, because we could, as I said before, we're sitting on like a landmine of like materials and raw materials, right, which could definitely be contributed into the steel manufacturing company, but we choose not to. And I think a lot of that is to do with the fact that they will create all these carbon emissions and everything. So we just send it out, get them to refine it or whatever they do with it, and then we just have to buy it back. So we don't have the carbon emissions here in Australia, which doesn't really help anyone. It just offsets it. But that's why it happens, because we have all these stringent environmental standards that we have to uphold. And if we don't, then we're at like a legal standpoint, you know? I don't know if that makes sense, but that's what I found.
I know. It's holding us back, Ellie. And as you know, there's politicians out there, Pauline Hanson and that I think if they get in, will pull us out of the Paris Agreement and this 2050 thing, because I think we all agree that we don't want to pollute our planet. We don't want the planet to go, you know, so you can't live on the thing. But at the moment, we're just doing it at the detriment of ourselves. Here's another good question for you. We're worried about polluting the air, and yet we still export all our coal and everything. It's like hypocritical. We don't do it ourselves, but we export it to China and India to do it and pollute the thing. So that just does not make sense to me.
Yeah, I think Phil said that in the comments just there. We all breathe the same air. Like, essentially, we are literally just sending it away to do the job that we could do here. We could do it not like, I guess it would be more cost effectively if we just did it all in Australia. Instead of sending it away, you know, paying the tariff to get it back, you know, it's stupid. It's a silly idea. And we could definitely support all of our manufacturing industries in Australia. We could become so much more self-sufficient if Australia actually supported its manufacturing industries. Like back in the day, you know, producing 10 million metric tons of steel. Our demand now is 10.1 million metric tons of steel every year, right? We're only producing 5.7 with both Blue Scope and that one that you were talking about before, steel and Whyalla. So we end up importing like 6 million metric tons of steel because we can't even meet our demand. And it's not that we can't, we definitely can meet that demand. It's just because Australia isn't supporting these manufacturing industries well enough. Because of these environmental standards, like 100%, we need to be sustainable in our practices and we need to look after our environment because we all live on the same planet at the end of the day. We all breathe the same air. But there's ways to be sustainable without being unrealistic, because at the end of the day, we can support Australians. We can support these manufacturing companies by giving them the raw materials we mine ourselves at a cheaper cost, you know, instead of importing it all and paying that extra tariff as well. Without all these vulnerabilities to disruptions in their supply chain, we could be very much independent. But our country is literally just like shooting everyone in the back, essentially.
Well, Ellie, we used to be independent. When I was a kid, and that just about everything was made in Australia. Rarely would you pick something up and see most stuff that you picked up, and a lot of the guys in the comments thing are around our age, my age. Everything was made in Australia back in the 70s and the early 80s, and then it just started going backwards. But here's another one. You're talking about we've got everything in the ground here that we need to do the job. As you know, we got the largest deposits of uranium in the world. This could be another good study for you at university. And I know that Peter Dutton mentioned this in the last election and he got voted out. It seems Australians don't want to go down this path, but is nuclear energy the answer, a possible answer for big electricity consuming things like steel. 1 terawatt an hour BlueScope steel use. That is a lot of electricity. 1 terawatt an hour. I don't know what a terawatt is, but it's a lot of electricity. I'd hate to be paying the bill. Did you have a look at the possibility of nuclear energy to support steelworks and that at all during your paper?
I didn't touch on nuclear energy. No, sorry.
Yeah. I reckon that'd be a good study to do, nuclear energy, and it's green. I know it's going to cost a lot to get up and running, but I think we've left our run too late with nuclear. We probably should have started on this 20 years ago. But can you imagine if we had nuclear power, which is green, so you've got the carbon thing there? We could probably have a dozen steelworks in this country if we had nuclear power to get cheaper, greener, unlimited energy to produce steel. And as I said, we used to in the 80s, we produced enough steel for ourselves. Now we can only do a third of it, and we got to import the rest. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, we started exporting a lot of our. Let me just get this fact right. Back in towards 1981. We started our offshore manufacturing because you could still get top quality, but for less, right? Money, right? To places like China and Southeast Asia. Yeah. We did our manufacturing over there a lot of the time, but that was only because we could get it back at the same quality for less money. So it was a smart business decision. However, now I feel like it's just it's completely eradicated all manufacturing in Australia. I'm not too sure about nuclear energy, but I know that if we're just using electric arc furnaces, which are supposed to be, I think someone said green energy, something like that, because they do use recycled steel. Yeah. I feel like it's just going to cause more problems than it was just using the normal traditional method of manufacturing steel.
Yeah.
Because it is just offsetting all those emissions, right?
I don't know what the answer is. So solar panels and wind turbines aren't going to cut the mustard when it comes to steel manufacturing.
They use too much energy. The output of energy, like what you just said, the
terawatt per hour.
Yeah. It's unrealistic to expect electricity to meet the same standard as something like coking coal within the same amount of time. It can heat up to the same level, the same temperature, but not in the same amount of time and not as efficiently. And at the end of the day, the electricity is just coming from another, plant that's releasing more carbon emissions anyways, because now we're chewing through more, right?
It's all smoke and mirrors, yeah.
Right. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I don't know. It'd be good to see Whyalla get up and running again and get another steel mill down there. Hopefully that Australian coal company buys that. But I just can't believe we send our good stuff overseas. They're obviously just thinking about the money.
That's all it is, unfortunately.
Yeah. What about Bega Cheese? We know electricity's the biggest problem with steel there. Bega Cheese, what are some of the challenges they're facing, Ellie?
What don't they face?
Yeah.
Bega Cheese. I also did a case study on their financial position, so I'm not entirely sure about their manufacturing practices, if I'm being honest. Yeah. But Bega Cheese does face almost not the same environmental standards, but they do face very stringent quality inspections, very stringent environmental standards nonetheless. So Bega Cheese started when they established, they brought together all those small farm communities within that Bega Valley in New South Wales to actually come together. And as a company, they've all grown over time. So they haven't taken many, outsiders in, if that makes sense. They've just stayed as a tight-knit unit. But they do face challenges with their supply chain as well, with all the agriculture. It's a lot to do with disruptions throughout the logistics. So shipping, like we export a lot of our goods. We don't import a lot. I think that's just because of our biosecurity, like food safety standards. But yeah, it's a lot of vulnerabilities in their logistics and their transportation. So I guess fuel would be a big one for Bega Cheese as well.
It comes back to diesel, Ellie. It all comes back to diesel. This country runs on diesel. We all know that. All our trucks and everything that ships Bega, and let's face it, Bega isn't just milk and cheese. They own a lot of other little companies, dairy farmers. Yeah, it all comes back to diesel. And we've got to address that situation. And if we can make diesel fuel cheaper for our logistics companies, it's going to decrease. It's going to probably increase their profit margin, but make the end item cheaper for us to buy at the supermarkets as well. So, yeah, I know.
Yeah, like Australia should just support what we have going on. And then if we do need, like, because we have all the facilities and all the potential to manufacture here in Australia for a lot of this stuff that we used to, like our cars, our steel, our food, our produce, we have the potential to create it all for Australians. And then ultimately that would be cheaper for its people, 100%. Yeah. And if we need to, we can, import additional items, but it's just sad because we do have the potential to do it here, but now we're paying like through the roof. So like Bega, like $11 for a block of cheese, and a lot of that is to do with the fuel crisis and that transportation. Yeah. Yes,
I know. I said it at the start. I don't know if you saw that. The three things we need to address is cost of fuel, the cost of electricity, and groceries, which Bega, a lot of their Bega items are in the grocery stores, but they're not price gouging. They've got to put their prices up because electricity. Imagine how much electricity all the Bega factories and that use. So they just need cheaper electricity and cheaper diesel, and we'll see the cost of a lot of stuff come down around this country. But at the moment, it doesn't look like it's going to happen, especially with this Strait of Hormuz thing. That doesn't look like it's going to be solved anytime soon. So it's just everyone's up against it, Ellie, not just Blue Scope Steel and Bega, even you, putting fuel in your little Mazda 2 every week. You notice it at the fuel pump. Yeah. At least you haven't got a D. At least Mervyn doesn't run on diesel. He runs on bloody unleaded, which is a bit cheaper at the moment. But everyone in the chat room, a lot of run 4-wheel drive diesels. And it's getting harder. It's getting harder to go to the service station and do that type of stuff now. And that's why a lot of the small businesses are struggling. We need to address the cost of fuel, and we need to address the cost of electricity in this country, because the cost of electricity is ridiculous.
Yeah, small businesses are struggling for more just, I feel, fuel and electricity. A lot of government policies imposed on small businesses are definitely creating their downfall, 100%. But yeah, electricity, fuel prices, they're skyrocketing, and I don't think they're going to get better anytime soon, because I don't think we're like Australia is going to reintroduce manufacturing for its people. Unfortunately, I feel as if anything, we will probably close it all down and just import everything, even though it's not of, like, I think people were saying before, if I'm like reading the chat quickly, our steel and our raw materials are one of the best qualities, like in a handful of other countries. And who we import from don't have that quality standard because of these, of these environmental standards, but we go through like intense durability testing and everything of our steel, like especially. And I think that is possibly a good thing because we have that quality, but it's also negatively affecting these manufacturing companies because now their prices are going up, not on top of their diesel costs, on top of their electricity costs, and especially if they put these or introduce these electric arc furnaces in, that electricity cost is going to skyrocket significantly. So not only are they having to compete on their quality, their fuel, and their electricity, and include that all in the price of one, say, galvanized sheet of Colorbond, but they're also trying to fight the fact that Australia as a country isn't supporting them as well as they should be, if that makes sense.
No, I don't know. I wish we could turn it around, Ellie, but I think you're right. I think we're on a slippery slope, and I just can't see us coming back from it. I think you're right. I think we're just going to get to the stage where everything is imported into this country now. If the Strait of Hormuz hasn't given us a wake up call about our fuel, being able to produce enough fuel for this country, I don't know what is. We need to do something anyway. It's not good. Let's hope Whyalla Steelworks opens up soon, and there's a couple of buyers in line that they do want to open it back up. It closed down, Ellie, because it financially couldn't keep up the electricity costs and wages and everything. It was just, that's why Whyalla closed down, everyone. So let's hope we see the South Australian steelworks open back up. Wouldn't it be good if we could get some cheap power, start putting our coking coal and giving priority to our Aussie companies, and start seeing manufacturing open up in this country? Wouldn't it be good to see cars being built in this country again out of Aussie steel?
It would definitely be a superpower, that's for sure. If we could actually if we could just support one another, and like BlueScope does get some raw materials from like the mines in WA, and I think New South Wales in that region as well, or Queensland.
Yeah,
we do get some from our own country, but definitely not the amount that we should be getting, and the amount that's exported out. But we definitely could, if the country just worked together better, we could definitely support more of our manufacturing. We could open up our I think were they oil rigs that recently just like one of them got knocked down or something, but we could definitely bring that back to
refineries.
Yeah.
There's talk about, speaking of that, there's talk about them opening. We used to have 10 refineries in this country. There's talk of them opening up a new oil refinery in Western Australia again. We used to have one over there, and they closed it down. There's talk about a refinery in Western Australia, and the Queensland Premier is talking about an oil refinery, a fuel refinery at Gladstone. So there are some politicians that are talking about producing more of our own fuel, and this Strait of Hormuz thing has given us a bit of a wake-up call, but there's still people burying their head in the sand, and we need to be, it'd be nice to be self-sufficient. We had the potential to be, as you said, Ellie, a superpower for manufacturing. We were going that way in the 70s and 80s. We were pumping, we were making our own cars, we had steel works and all that. And then for some reason, someone dropped the ball, and someone realised it was cheaper to start going to China and getting everything made in China. And we've been on a big downhill, slippery slope ever since. And I don't know if we're going to come back from it. Let's hope we do. But as I said earlier in the feed, Ellie, it's kids like you that need to come up with new ideas, because it's old brains like mine that have got this country into the mess it's in at the moment. And we're going to rely on your generation now to get us out of the shit, come up with some different ideas, think outside the box, try and think of new ways to make this country go forward. And I just think, maybe in 20 years' time, if I'm still around, we might see, when you guys start getting into politics and your age, maybe things will click along, because us old guys, we're responsible for getting this country into the mess it's in. And I don't think anyone can disagree with me on that. Have a look at all our politicians over the last 20 years. They're all boomers and Gen Xers, everyone, and they got us into this shit. Maybe we need new brains like Ellie's and that coming through with some new ideas on how to make us go forward. I know someone mentioned Jared Rennick there before. I know Jared's got some great ideas. Unfortunately, he's not in politics, everyone. He's not even a senator at the moment. So he's got no pull at all. All he can do is go on podcasts and have his say on podcasts. We need guys like him in there with new ideas on how to progress this country forward. Any final comments you want to say, Ellie, before we keep going? No, that's it.
It's all my points.
That's all your points. Thanks for saying that. And it's good to know that, you know, I haven't heard any rumours that BlueScope Steel's going to go under. Can you imagine BlueScope Steel?
I don't think they're going to go under, but if anything, I reckon they'll probably move their manufacturing to somewhere where they don't cop tariffs.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Well, I know we do. They might have something over in the USA, but the USA's tariffing at the moment, aren't they? They're tariffing.
Yeah, they have a couple of facilities in the USA. They did start like their BRM strategy, which is just recycling scrap steel over there. But yeah, I think from my own opinion, I reckon if BlueScope doesn't shut down in Australia, they will definitely move out of Australia.
Yeah, we don't want to see that. We don't want to see that because jobs go there. One thing they said with steel, it's such a great commodity. It's got an unlimited amount of times it can be recycled. Like you recycle steel, turn it into steel, and then when that's done, you recycle it again. It just keeps going. It's just, making it's not environmentally friendly maybe, but it can be recycled. Everything made out of metal can be recycled. I did Google last night the Hunter-class frigates that are being built down in South Australia at the moment are being made with BlueScope steel. So our new Aussie warships, everyone, are going to have Australian steel. No doubt our new nuclear submarines, when we get them, will be made out of Australian steel. And the Americans know how good Australian steel is. If everyone's going, oh, the Aussies are just saying they got the best steel in the world, well, the Americans have just started importing Australian steel for their Virginia-class submarines. So there you go. So there's no doubt about it that we do produce probably the best steel in the world, along with the USA. It's certainly a higher quality than the Chinese steel. We need to keep it going, Ellie. We can't have these places closing down. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think we definitely have the potential to be back, bring it back to the golden days where we did manufacture and produce, our own cars. And we could facilitate 10 million metric tons of steel instead of just, 5.
Yeah.
I definitely think we have the potential to do it. It's just we're being limited by outside factors, and I think that needs to change. And it's only a matter of time for some different people to maybe get into the government, into the politics, and flip it around a little bit and give Australia a chance. I think
we need to work out how to. We're never going to go back to the dirty old steel manufacturing days. Let's face it. We need to work out how to make electricity cheaper, but we also need to work out how to make it greener. And I know for a fact that if we use the proper coal that we mine here in Australia, coal-fired power stations can be significantly greener than what the old ones were back in the 70s. So we've got to work out a way to keep manufacturing going, but also make it green. I don't think anyone disagrees with we want a healthier planet. I don't think any of us agree there. But at the moment, they've gone too far one way, and it's at the detriment of this country. As I said,
it's unrealistic.
We give all our coal to China and India to burn, and they're thriving, and we're going backwards. So how does that make sense? I don't know. That's where you young kids have got to come up with a solution, because we're too dumb to work it out, Ellie.
I don't think
Speaking of dumb, how come the Rogers girls got all the smarts and all the boys are dumb? Me, Nutty, your dad, Ken, and you and Lauren went to uni and you're booming on to bigger and better things. So the girls got all the brains in the Rogers family, I think.
I think you discredit your own kids a little too much there, actually. Maybe it's just
your dad. I know your dad, he's a coal miner, but he's smarter than I give him credit for. He's got some good ideas too, your dad, and he just doesn't want to come on and talk about them. But anyway, hey, good to see you again, Ellie.
Yeah, it was good. Thanks for having me on.
No, that's good. It's good. I'm glad you came on, and it's certainly an interesting topic about. We all know electricity. It all boils down to one thing, Ellie. Electricity just seems to be the common denominator. That is one of the big things is why businesses aren't thriving in this country is electricity, and we need to come up with bloody cheaper electricity, cheaper and greener electricity. We don't seem to know the answer.
Yeah, contribution of factors, but electricity is a big one, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Wages and all that. Hey, another one I wanted to talk about too. I don't know if you want to talk about this. They made an announcement recently about raising the minimum wage. Now you've been working at Kmart for a long time now, and you've got up to you're starting to do supervising at Kmart. And let's face it, that's a great job, Ellie, to help you pay your way through university. You're paying your way through uni. You're not relying on dad and granddad to pay your way through uni. You're doing it yourself by working hard in your off time at Kmart. They've just gone in and announced raising the minimum wage. Now, most of the young kids at Kmart and a lot of other places, businesses, work on casual wages. So I believe Kmart now is getting rid of all their casual positions.
Yeah, unfortunately, I work casually because it fits around and provides me the flexibility to work around university, because that's obviously my priority. However, because of this wage increase as of the 1st of July this year, a lot of companies, and I couldn't imagine small businesses, that have had to increase their wage like proportionately. And unfortunately, that they've created a strategy where to maintain cost effectiveness means to cut a lot of the casual positions and provide them with part-time positions, which sounds great because then they would join a contract. They would be on a steady wage instead of, up and down. However, for people like myself who cannot commit to 30 hours a week on top of their university, which, consumes a lot of that time, that limits me as a casual employee where I relied on that flexibility. So unfortunately, that wage increase was a little bit detrimental to university students like myself, because it's not just me that's in university there, but it definitely did impact us. So I've got to outsource a little bit now.
So they offered you a permanent part-time position, but the hours just didn't suit. And let's face it, the money's not as good when you're permanent part-time either.
The money is not good. No. Well, it's okay, but it's not as good as what it could be with casual loading. So I can understand as a company why they've done it. And they did offer me a position, but the commitment to that many hours a week on top of trying to study full time and balance, having a little bit of play basketball or wherever I'm doing is not feasible, unfortunately.
I can see the government trying to look after young kids like yourself and giving you a pay rise and raising the minimum wage. I get that. They're trying to look after people, but it's had how many coffee shops and little cafes out there now have had to say, we can't afford to employ these two casual girls anymore. We just can't afford to have them on the books. So how many kids are actually out there and have actually lost their jobs because they were casual? I'd like to know. I think there'd be quite a few.
Well, if you think about it, the wage increase was only a small part of their books. Things like buying the materials they need to run a coffee shop, like all your cups, your coffee beans, everything, your electricity, the fuel, the fuel to transport, all that stuff. All adds on at the end of the day. And unfortunately, the easiest way, usually for small businesses to cut down on costs, is to maybe let go of a few staff. And usually that ends up being casual employees, which, it's unfortunate, but it happens, unfortunately.
Yeah, if there's anyone in the chat room, if you know any young kids that have lost their job since they were casual and got put off because the company just can't afford to keep them on anymore. So
I know high wage, and I said it at the start, higher wages isn't the answer, everyone. You can't just keep raising everyone's wages so we're all on $100,000 a year. They need to address problems like fuel, electricity, and just other costs. Bring that down, and then we won't need to have to keep banging on about needing higher wages. But anyway, that's where you come in, Ellie. You young kids have got to get your heads together as you get out of uni and come up with some really good ideas on how to progress this country, because at the moment we're going backwards and we're on a big downhill slip, and that's why it's frustrating sitting back watching. But I don't know what the answer is. If I knew what the answer was, I'd probably be Prime Minister, Ellie. So anyway, thanks for coming on again.
No
Good
worries.
to see
Thanks
you.
for having me. See
All
ya.
right. See you, well. Bye now. See you
Bye.
later. Anyway, there you go. Quite proud of how Ellie's going. She's doing really well. She's a real young go-getter. And even her dad said that. He said, gee whiz, she's a real motivated young girl. She works hard. She does uni. She's getting high distinctions with all her assignments at uni. And, you know, they're our future at the end of the day. As much as us old guys want to sit back and rubbish. I'll plug my thing back in. Hopefully, I'm back on the microphone now, everyone. Testing 1, 2, 3. I'll just check that I'm on audio, iMac, microphone, speaker, external.
Yeah, that's better. I'm on external again now. Yeah, when someone comes on, I can't hear them. I've got to take this thing out. So anyway, 47,000 businesses have closed since May. Get on there. I'll bring this up. Sorry, guys. I was just concentrating on what Ellie was talking about. So I haven't been in the chat room. See, Tucky, 47,000 businesses have closed since May 2022. I can only guess how many young people lost their jobs. Yeah, I know. It's not 47,000. That's not 47,000 people have lost their jobs. It's 47,000 little businesses. Dear, oh dear. They keep banging on. And I'm not just having a go at the current government now. It's the other one too. The previous governments, everyone. We're going to address the cost of living. The cost of living is still going the wrong direction, everyone. If you're going to address it and do something about it. Just don't talk about it. Albo coming on again the other day. Oh, we've decreased our taxes by $5 a week. You don't even notice that. People want to see changes. They want to see their pay packets, and not because there's been a pay rise. They want to see that taxes have gone down. I've got an extra $100 in me pay packet for the fortnight. That's what we need to do, everyone. Yeah, Ellie would be classed as a junior below minimum wage. Yeah, I don't know. She's 19. I don't know what it is there, but I don't know. 19-year-old, you'd have to be treated as an adult, wouldn't you? Wouldn't Ellie be classified as a junior below minimum wage? Well, she was a junior at Kmart, mate. She's been doing that since she was at school. She's been doing it for quite a few years now. Obviously, when she was in high school, she was a junior. But as a 19-year-old, are you still classed as a junior below minimum wage? I don't know. She's 19, mate. So I know she doesn't look 19, but she is. So she should be classed as a bloody adult now when it comes to work. But anyway, proud grandpa. Yeah, mate, I am. It's good to see your kids and your grandkids doing well for themselves, isn't it? You know, I know Ellie will kick on to bigger and better things. I know she's a very motivated young girl. William, her young brother, Will's still at school chasing girls and all that. So he's a Rogers boy. He'll no doubt. I don't know what Will's going to do when he grows up. He's still a bit young now. Let him grow up a bit more and see what he wants to do. But Ellie's been very motivated, even at school. She was like the school captain, and she's just been a motivated young girl for a long time now, and she's going to do really, really well for herself. So anyway, yeah, it's always good to see the 3-3-3 rule. Phil, explain that to us, Phil. That's gone over my head. not the 30. I know what the 303 rule is, but I don't think we're talking about that at the moment. Phil, come on and just explain what the 333 rule is, please, mate. I've probably heard of it, but anyway, speaking of Ellie's dad, I know he doesn't want me to talk about this, but I'm proud of him too, everyone. Last Friday, Phil was working in his backyard, everyone, and heard a blood-curdling scream come from next door or a house near his. And it could have been anything. Anyway, he jumped the fence and went in, and there was a young girl, about 40 in her 30s and 40, had witnessed her father no longer living. I won't go into what he did, everyone, but I think you can all imagine what's happened. So another older neighbour jumped the fence as well with Phil. Now, Phil didn't know what he was getting himself into when he heard the screams, everyone. It could have been someone being stabbed to death with a knife. It could have been someone with a gun. It could have been anything. As it turns out, it was not a pleasant thing to be confronted by. So they got him down and commenced CPR on him. He was about my age, about 60, Phil thinks. Commenced CPR for 10, 15 minutes while I don't know if the daughter or someone rang 000 and got the police and ambulance there. So they did the CPR, 30 compressions and 2 breaths. And apparently Phil was on the breaths, and the older guy was on the compressions, and he ran out of puff. If you haven't done CPR, everyone, for a long time, it's hard work. 30 compressions to 2 breaths. If you don't know that, it's 30 to 2. It's not the old 15 and 2 now, or 5 to 1 if there's 2 of yous. It's 30 chest compressions and 2 EARs, expired air resuscitation. Okay? It wasn't a nice scene, and Phil and the other guy did his best. The police turned up. A young copper jumped in with Phil and took over, and Phil was doing compressions, and then the police officer started doing the EAR, expired air resuscitation. Apparently that wasn't very nice, and they kept going until the ambulance arrived. And when the ambulance arrived, the ambo said to Phil, the paramedic said to Phil, mate, get out, we'll take over now. Unfortunately, he was too far gone, everyone. Phil said he was blue. But they did their best, and they just kept working on him until the ambulance got there. And then I think the ambulance officers pronounced him deceased. So it wasn't. Phil rang me that day, and he was obviously shaken up, everyone. It's not something that you want to be confronted with. But anyway, the sergeant police officer turned up and said to Phil, well done, mate, well done, bloody good effort. And Phil did his best, and he did the Aussie thing. He went to his neighbours. You know, you hear your neighbour screaming for help. Most Aussies, that's just what we're trained to do, isn't it? You just go in and you go. Phil, it could have been anything. It could have been a bloke in there with a knife. Phil didn't know what he was getting into, but you don't think about that at the time. Phil just heard someone needing help, and he went in to help. And he did his very best to try and bring that guy back to life. And, you know, this community, we don't know why old mate did it or anything. Guys, who knows? We'll never know. Phil will never know. It's just a horrible thing for a daughter. We know we've got 2 members of the community, Fisherman Fecky and Kobe. You know, we know how close it is to us, everyone. Ken put something up last night about how many veterans are committing suicide every year. It's not just veterans, everyone. It's everyone. It's bloody too much of it going on. We probably all know, well, we've had 2 people in this community do it, and it bloody knocks the arse out of you. Some of you have probably got no friends or family members. I had 2 work colleagues do it, take their own life, everyone. It's bloody horrible. And I know when Mickey Dixon took his own life at work, he was one of our screws. He gutted us. We all work real close with Mick, and we were bloody down for weeks after that. It just put a broom through you, you know, like you just bloody turn up to work. Everyone, you could just tell everyone was down, and it might be an easy out for some people, for the person who does it, but it just leaves so much heartache and hurt with everyone who's left behind. So please, everyone, if you need to speak to someone, do it. We keep saying it. If there's anyone out there doing it tough, I know there's a guy in the community doing it tough at the moment, and I rang him the other day for a chat. He's gone through some shit times, lost his dog, lost his job, car's gone. So I rang Cole the other day and made sure Cole was okay. He's hanging in there, and you just got to encourage him. There's always light at the end of the tunnel, everyone. You mightn't see it at the time. There's always light at the end of the tunnel. So, you know, that, you know, the S word, it's not an option, everyone. It's not an option. Once you do it, it's final. There's no coming back from it. My first ever autopsy was from that, a bloke in his 30s. My first ever autopsy as a copper. I'm sitting there watching him because his buddy unknown cause, they needed to work out what the cause of, they kind of knew what the cause of death was, but they need to go in and check. So they do an autopsy, which is pretty gruesome. If you haven't seen an autopsy, everyone, seen a human body getting hacked apart on a cold steel table in a morgue, it's not very nice. It's not very pleasant. Anyway, I was just sitting there watching this guy, and he had a bloody rope burn around his neck, and he done it over his missus left him, which is why a lot of guys do this shit, isn't it? Over relationship breakups. I'd love to see the figures on that. And I was just sitting there looking at him while he's getting hacked apart by a doctor, thinking, you silly prick. Why didn't you speak to someone? Why didn't you speak up and say something? That was my first ever autopsy as a copper, and I was just sitting there going, I just said, why, mate? Why? I just wish I could have backtracked and bloody before he did it and shake some sense into him, have a chat with him before he got to do it. But once you do it, there's no coming back from it. So anyway, Phil, well done, mate. Proud of you. It's not, I don't know, it's not a very nice thing to be confronted by. I can only imagine it was horrific for the daughter that found him. But well done to you, mate, that bloody jumped the fence, didn't think about danger or anything like that. It could have been anything. But you did the Aussie thing, and you went in and helped out your neighbour, mate, and that's what we need to do. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, there's always if anyone in the bloody chat room there, everyone, and you're not in a good headspace, you friggin' send me a message. I'll give you a call. Gidgey will give you a call. I've already had a couple of people in this community have credited me for saving their lives just by doing my YouTube stuff. I had a bloke say one day, today was going to be my last day on earth. He said, I was in a hole, I couldn't find a way out. And he said, I put one of your videos on, Buck, and you snapped me out of it. He said, I was going to end it. So just that one thing alone has made my time on YouTube worth it, to think that I've helped someone out and possibly prevented him from taking his own life. So, yeah, I know Chrissy's younger brother took his own life a few years ago. That's something no one should have to go through, Chris. Mate, you've been through the ringer, haven't you? You've had I've had a couple of chats with Chris. He's done it tough, everyone, and it doesn't get any tougher than losing your young brother to suicide. Not good, mate. That's bloody horrible. I didn't want to mention that, Chris. I don't like mentioning other people's personal lives and that, mate, but you've come up and said that yourself, and God. And as I know, with Fisherman Fecky and then his son Kobe, that gutted me, everyone. That absolutely gutted me. Everyone saw how upset I was at the Legends for Charity when I tried to, Steve Fuller, thanks, arsehole. He said, you want to get up and say a few words about Fecky? It was still pretty raw at that time, and I just couldn't keep it together. And that gutted me, that one, losing Fecky to suicide, everyone. It's bloody horrible. Anyway, it's not a good subject, is it? It's not a good subject. Let's get off it. But if anyone out there needs, friggin' reach out and speak to someone. Don't keep it inside. If you think, even have thoughts of it, you bloody speak up, please, everyone. Speak up. Dear, oh dear, it's a horrible thing. Anyway, so Jan on, is she? Someone said, yeah, anyway, we'll get on to some more pleasant things, eh? Hey, Facebook, we know our Facebook sucks. Anyone remember MySpace, which was like the original Facebook? It is relaunching, everyone, and they're going to relaunch, they reckon, go against Facebook, and it's not going to run on algorithms and all that bullshit. So keep your eye out for MySpace. That was originally designed so friends can keep in touch with each other. And it's just turned into the Facebook nightmare now, where you just get bombarded with tits and ass and bloody shit that you don't want to see, and all the algorithms coming in. It's just ridiculous. And sometimes you just can't get away from it. It's you just want to go on there and follow pages that you want to follow and follow friends that you want to follow. But now Facebook, it just gets lost, doesn't it? Anyway, there's MySpace is going to relaunch, who were the original ones, and they're going to go in and keep it simple, stupid type thing, which is good. Now, Cooktown trip, I went in and saw Far North Queensland Motor Group the other day, Damien at Far North Queensland Motor Group, and him and the boss there. They're going to lend Mr. Buckaroony their Ford Ranger Superduty on Friday the 21st of August, which is a couple of weeks away, picking it up on a Friday arvo, and then gives me Saturday to pack and get the caravan ready and just familiarise myself with everything, because it's a new vehicle. Learning, I know how to drive it, just learning the bloody screens and all that type of stuff. Damo's going to give me a rundown on the Friday afternoon. And then early on the Sunday morning, Roz and I and Rafa, we're on our way up to Cooktown, everyone. And we're going to do a few film clips on the Super Duty. Going to do a Cooktown series, bit of history of Cooktown and all that, which is absolutely fantastic. But I want to see how the Super Duty goes towing the Jayco caravan. And all I can compare it to, everyone, is the BT50. Now that I've had the BT50 tune, how it goes power-wise. We've got a couple of big ranges to get up to get to Cooktown. See how the Super Duty tows a 2.5-ton caravan. Everyone's banging on about, towing this big 4.5-ton caravan and maxing it out. A lot of people out there want to know how a Super Duty going to go towing a standard size caravan, a 17.5-foot Jayco, which is what a lot of us have got, with 4 water tanks. So it'll be about the 2.5-ton mark. And I'm going to give an honest opinion on how it goes, what it's like to drive, fuel consumption, how it goes uphill and all that type of stuff, but also give you a look around Cooktown. We're going to throw the fishing rods in the back and do some fishing up there, go down on the wharf and have a fish at Cooktown, spend a couple of nights up there, go for a drive down to the Lions Den Hotel, probably have a pizza and a beer down at the Lions Den, which is south of Cooktown. It's going to be good. So keep your eye out for that one, everyone. So, yeah, thanks to Far North Queensland Motor Group, everyone who's lending me their Ford Ranger Super Duty. So I'm really looking forward to it. I haven't driven one yet. I've sat in one. Certainly seems nice. So it's going to be good to Phil McCavity. I don't know if Phil's on this morning. He's got one and he rates it, everyone. He really likes his Super Duty. I haven't seen Phil say anything bad about it. The Nomad, the BT50, the torque monster. Mine was a slug until I got the tune-up, everyone. I tell you what, I got that tune-up and the manifold clean, and it goes all right now. It tows real good, the BT50, 530 newton meters of torque or whatever, but it tows really, really well. Got so much more power. I go up the Carball range easy now in 5th gear. If I drop it back to 4th, coming up the Carball range on the way home from the Barra Crab, and I was actually gaining, got 5th gear, it went down to 80, dropped it down to 4th, and then I was up to 90 something at the top of the range. So I was actually gaining speed going up the Carball range in the BT50, towing it. Mind you, I had the water tanks empty then. I'd done my last camp up, so always empty the water tanks at your last camp. So I travel home with empty water tanks, so I don't have to empty it in the traveling home lighter, and that way you don't have to empty the water into your yard at home. Yeah, I'm going to feed some fish some worms, Mike. Exactly right. Did you see the post? A Japanese company wanted me to try out their fishing gear. Didn't even reply to them. I thought, you idiots, if only you knew I was the worst fisherman on YouTube and you want me to promote your bloody fishing lures and shit. What a joke that is. Anyway, we loved our road trip to Cooktown last year, Pete McMurtry. Yeah, some history in that town, mate, eh? Some history in that town. When you're standing on the banks of the Endeavour River and there's a monument there and it says, this is I'll ring you back. I'm live. You there? Yeah, I'll ring you back. Oh, beauty. Eh?
We've just been Canungra and checked out one place, so now we're at stop for a piss stop at Bowie, and we're heading doing Lions Road through Border Ranges and all of that.
You'll be pleased to know, everyone, Ken, Rob the Wanderer, Tommy Oliver, the Gwynn family, and Nathan Schilling all just stopped for a piss break. You'll be pleased to know that. They just stopped for a piss break. There's 5 of them in the convoy, and they're going out to check out a new camping ground for the camp up at the end of the year for South Queensland. All right, yeah, council thing again. Hey, you didn't cross swords at the urinal, did you? I hope. No, that's all right. All right, I'll ring. The Wanderer and Tommy Oliver, they would have been shaking each other's. I'm worried about those 2 blokes. Righto, I'll talk to you later. So, yeah, will do. Gidgy says good day, everyone. Righto. So, Gidgy's out at the moment with Rob the Wanderer, Tommy Oliver, Ryder, the Gwynn family. I think Nathan Schilling's with them too. Yeah, Nathan. And they're looking for a new campground. They found a beautiful one at Spring Valley or something, but the campground's capped to 30 people, maximum of 30 people, which they said it would have been absolutely perfect, but the council's capped it to a maximum of 30. So there goes that idea. There'll be definitely more than 30 going to that. So anyway, you'll be pleased to know they just stopped for a piss break, and they all stood at the urinal together, and Rob the Wanderer was giggling at everyone. So what's that tell you about Rob? He might be bragging on the next live feed. So there you go. Yeah, looking forward to the Cooktown trip, everyone. How long have I been going? Is it 11 o'clock? No. All right, another 10 minutes. I'll call it up at 2 hours, everyone. So if you've got any questions, put them down. I'll answer that. And hey, if anyone's in the market for a new vehicle, and it's either a Ford, a Nissan, what else I sell? A GWM. Get onto Damo's drives, Far North Queensland Motor Group. Get onto Damo, everyone. Damo reckons he will smash anyone's price. If you get a price for a new Super Duty or a Ford Ranger or a GWM Canon Alpha or a GWM Tank 300 or a Tank 500, Damo said he'll smash them out of the park. Buy $1,000, he reckons. So get on to Far North Queensland Motor Group. Ask for Damien if you're in the market. What else do they sell there? I've missed a vehicle. Ford, Nissan, GWM. I don't think they do Mitsubishi. No, they don't do Mitsubishi. So anyway, see you, Dave. See you later, mate. Playing Wixie said they would have been crossing swords for sure. You can guarantee the Wanderer and Tom Oliver would have been up to no good at the urinal, everyone. They would have been up to no good at the urinal, those two. I'm a bit worried about those two, I'll tell you. Anyway, Christina, if you're watching, I'd be a bit worried about Tom and the Wanderer. They've been sneaking off together far too often lately. Yeah, Jagger, lazy Barra. So anyway, it'll be good. I'm sure at some stage, Rob, Tommy Oliver, Gidgy and Nathan are going to come up with a really good campground, one that's got pet friendly, you can have fires, got good facilities, toilets and showers for the ladies and all that type of stuff, powered sites and unpowered sites. They're trying to find the perfect campground and have a South Queensland, North New South Wales get together sometimes towards the end of the year. Yeah, I know, Pete. Elvin and the boys always used to do really well off the Cooktown jetty for fishing. That's why I am going to throw the fishing rods in. Ross said, throw me hand line in. Ross is an old hand liner. So, yeah. Horse trough urinal. Oh, dear. Why? What? Not the Wanderer. Oh, it's wandering hands. Hey, I'll tell you what, I reckon you'd have to be game to stand at the urinal with Rob the Wanderer, everyone. you'd be watching where his hands are. He'd be like an octopus, I reckon. You'd have to watch it. What happens? What happens on an away trip? Yeah, it stays on an away trip. Exactly right. So there you go. Must be looking for a campground in the mountains. Yeah, I think they've had a look at a few different things. They looked at a pony club, a possible thing, and that was on the Gold Coast somewhere, only a couple hundred meters walk from one of the beaches on the Gold Coast. So they're checking out quite a few different places. I'll tell you where I haven't been there, but one place, and I haven't even mentioned this to Rob, is the Gameri Bush Camp, which is in South Queensland. Gameri Bush Camp, I think, might be Ken, if you hear this, mention to Rob and Tom, has anyone been to the Gameri Bush Camp? I know Steve Fuller has. That might be a potential place, maybe not for this one, but in the future, the Gameri Bush Camp. I've heard some good things about that one. But anyway, yeah, it'd be good. Wherever it is, everyone, if you can get to it, because they're wonderful thing. I said to Ken, just say to Rob, I said the Barra Crab was fantastic, but it was like everyone was very spread out, and there were a lot of other campers there that weren't part of the community. So you kind of walk past the camp, so you didn't know if they were part of the community or not, which detracted from it a bit. All the guys up in the powered sections, I hardly saw them. Crazy and Russ and all those guys, hardly saw them. I got to see, Chrissy Anderson and the Swagons and Lukey Reed and that down in the unpowered section. But even Pete McMurtry and Trev Kelly and that unpowered section's a big area at the Barra Crab, and even they were down the other end, I hardly saw them. So it'd be good to have a place where everyone there is just part of the community, and then in the afternoons, or you have things that brings everyone into a central thing, like a trivia night or a cook-up or something. Just get it where everyone comes into a central place so everyone gets to interact with other people. I think when you just have a camp and get together and everyone's splattered around, everyone just stays at their campsite and there's not a lot of interaction. There was a good night, the trivia night, where everyone came up to but not everyone came up to the trivia night either. So it'd be good to just have the community there and get everyone into a central place. That'll be fantastic, I think. Big rigging out at Rathdowney. Yeah, it's beautiful countryside out around there. That scenic rim, Rathdowney. Ros and I stopped at Rathdowney for a pie and a tinkle break from memory. I remember saying to Ros, I said, gee whiz, look at the countryside around here. Absolutely stunning. Gidgey goes down there nearly every weekend to the scenic rim for a drive. He said it's just magnificent countryside. Absolutely magnificent countryside down around the scenic rim in South Queensland there. Bow Desert area. Anyway, all right, guys, I'm going to go. Speaking of tinkles, I'm busting for one myself. Thanks to Ellie, my granddaughter, for coming on, having a chat about manufacturing in this country. Blue Scope Steel, let's hope they don't come up against it. Let's hope they don't go offshore. But the way things are going in this country, the government is driving businesses to go overseas or just to down tools and import. And it's, as you know, Drifter Stockton's still going. Drifter Stockton import their stuff, everyone. It's a lot easier than trying to manufacture. You heard me say what Luke was up against, why Drifter Drawers is closing down. It's pretty sad for the Australian camping community when businesses like Drifter start going under, everyone, and can't make a go of it anymore. Listen, I make no apologies for what I said about Australians being lazy, self-entitled, just want. We have become a country where in the old days, everyone, back in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s and that, it was like we had a saying, an honest day's work for an honest payday, basically. So you go out, you work hard, and you get a good pay packet for it. I know there's a lot of people out there who are still hard workers. Don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of people out there just taking the piss now and just want everything for nothing. Absolutely everything for nothing without having to work hard for it. We used to pride ourselves on having a roof over our head. I've got an old house here. I own it now. Me and Ros own this house. It's not a flash house, everyone. It's just an old house. It's older than me. But guess what? We own it and we work friggin' hard to say that we own it now. Like I've done 39 years of some pretty tough jobs. So what I worry about is kids like Ellie now, will they ever own their own home? Is Ellie ever going to be able to own her own house? Like at $1 million a pop. I know they're not $1 million in Townsville, but I'll tell you what, they're not cheap in Townsville now. But if she ever wanted to settle in Sydney or Melbourne or Brisbane or the Gold Coast, you've got to be a millionaire to buy a bloody house now. How are young kids like Ellie that are working at Kmart ever going to be able to buy a house? Come on. And then by the time she graduates university and then hopefully goes on to a really good job and a decent paying job, houses will probably be $1.5 million by the time she gets into that position. So she may never own a house. Rob the Wanderer said on one of his live feeds one night, he said, I've missed the boat, everyone. He said, I'll never own my own house. Rob rents, and I remember saying to Rob, bloody hell, mate. He goes, yeah, I've left me run too late. He said, I'll never own my own house. I've resigned myself to the fact that I'm just going to rent for the rest of my life. And what happens with rents? Going up and up and up. Price gouging landlords, asking ridiculous prices. Roz's son Josh trying to get a rental home up in Cairns. And it's like, it's getting to the stage of 30 people going for a house. Whoever offers the most rent gets it. And it's getting to the stage where 75% of your pay packet is going on rent. And then the rest of it probably goes on groceries. I went into Coles the other day, $220, walked out shaking my head again. I looked in the trolley and went, $220, you've got to be shitting me. I went, you are kidding. I've got enough in here for 2 nights of dinner, few ancillaries when you've got to buy bloody bit of dog food and all that. $220, I just shook my head and just went, this country is fucked. Sorry about my language, everyone, but that's the only word I could use or think to describe how things are at the moment. Electricity bills, and I've got bloody solar panels on, and I'm struggling to keep up the electricity bills. Absolute bullshit. Absolute bullshit. 4-bedroom house in Mackay advertised for $1,200 a week. When I was in corrections, mate, I didn't get that. I was getting about $2,200 when I left corrections 5 years ago. I was getting about $2,200 a fortnight in the hand. 1,100 a week I was getting, and I was on the highest pay level. I was on 1.9. That was the highest pay level in corrections before you went to supervisor. So I was on 1.9 and I was getting about 1,100 a week in the hand. So I wouldn't even be able to pay the rent for that 4-bedroom house in Mackay on a screw's wage. Absolute bullshit. And that's where we've come now. That's why everyone now, those landlords are just price gouging. They're friggin' price gouging. And I tell you, I can hold my hand on my heart. Roz and I used to own the house next door to us. It was a little rental home. We had it for quite a few years. And Roz's brother used to rent it off us and ended up buying it off us. And I can safely put my hand on my heart and say I was not a greedy prick with rent. We were very, very reasonable with rent because they're family as well. And when we sold the house, we had real estate agents saying, mate, you can get an extra 90 grand for this house if you really, and sell it to some, I won't say it, another family that's immigrated here from another country would pay an extra 90,000 for this house. I said, I don't care. I want to know who my neighbours are. And I like the fact that our neighbours are family. And I don't care if I could have got a lot more money for that house. I'm not ripping our own family off because I'm a greedy prick. That's the way I was brought up, everyone. It's the way I was brought up. I just hate greedy pricks. And greed is one of the reasons why Australia is where it is at the moment, is we became greedy. All these companies, instead of manufacturing in Australia and making I'm plucking these out of my ass now, a 20% profit by manufacturing in the country, we can go to China and we can get the same item made and sell it at the same price and make us 50% profit on it. That's how it's gone. And we're on a slope like that at the moment, and I don't think there's any turning it around. You only have to have a look at the camping industry, everyone. You know, camping companies now, it's just easier to go to China and buy everything. Have a look at Kings. Everything in Kings is Chinese. Everything in BCF's Chinese. Everything in Anaconda's Chinese. Drifter Stockton is importing from China. You know, and at the end of the day, drifter draws have gone down the gurgler, everyone. I feel sorry for the people that have busted their guts in that factory for many years at Gloucester, and I went in and filmed them. I used to see how hard they worked. I'm sure Luke used to pay them the award wage. But if you haven't seen it, go and type in drifter camping and four-wheel drive. Have a look at Luke's video where he talks about drifter draws closing down. It's a pretty hard watch, everyone. It's a pretty hard watch. As you know, me and Luke don't talk anymore, but I've never wished bloody anything ill of the person. He's a hard worker. He's been a good businessman. He's done a lot for the camping industry in Australia, and it's pretty sad to see it go like that. I hope someone buys the company off him, and I hope he bloody comes out of it okay after this, because I know he's busted. He's been a hard worker. You can't deny the guy that. He's a hard worker, and he's tried his very best to employ Australians and to keep manufacturing in this country. That was the whole idea of Drifter. Luke did everything he could to try and keep manufacturing in this country. He held on to it for as long as he could, and then I think the penny dropped and he went, you know what, it's just easier to go and buy everything out of China and sell it. He said it's less stress and all that type of stuff. But he did try to keep the drawers going. I don't know about the kitchens now. And then I think the canvas bag lady, I think he's still doing canvas bags here in Australia, which is good. He's also importing. But anyway, we wish him all the best. Hopefully comes out of it okay. And hopefully the people that were employed in the drawers factory, they've got two months of work to go. Hopefully a new company buys it and they get to keep their jobs and continue on. Anyway, just before I go, Snorky's on. G'day, Rob. How are you, mate? Yep. Gold increases because it is being compared to a currency devaluing. Yeah, gold used to be about $1,000 an ounce. It's double that now, isn't it? What's gold an ounce now, Rob? Not cheap at all. Mazda and Mitsubishi. Damo's on. Oh, so they do. Mazda's the other one. Oh, you do Mitsubishi. Mazda. So Damo's on there, everyone. Mazda was the other one. I should know that because I own a Mazda and I've had my car fixed there. Yeah, Mazda. So Ford, Mazda, Mitsubishi, and GWM and Nissan, everyone. Get on to Damo's Drives on Facebook. Get on to Facebook, Damo's Drives. Follow Damo on there. And if you're in the market, as I said, Ford, GWM, one thing I am looking forward to is when GWM bring out the new 3-litre diesel engine and whack it in the Canon Alpha and the Tank 500. Damo, I'll be in to see you, mate, to take the Tank 500 for a test drive with the new 3-litre diesel engine that they're putting in there, mate. That's going to be exciting times. It really will. Oh my God. Damo, thanks again, mate, for the Super Duty. I was just talking about that before. Really appreciate you, mate. I know you didn't have to lend it to a diddly donk like me, but it's going to be good, mate. Roz and I, and we'll go up to Cooktown and we'll put it through its paces. We'll treat it like it's our own. Won't be doing any 4-wheel driving with it, everyone. It's just, I want to see how it goes towing a 2.5-ton Jayco caravan, because I know a lot of people out there not interested that it can lug 4.5 ton. Most of us never going to tow a 4.5 ton caravan. Just want to see how it goes towing a normal size bloody Jayco caravan, how the fuel consumption is, what the power's like, how comfortable it is to drive, all that type of stuff. 6,000, well, someone said gold, $4,200 an ounce, which is about 6,000 Australian dollars an ounce. My God, I remember when it used to be about $1,000 an ounce. So anyone who bought gold back in the day and hung on to it, sitting pretty. $6,000 an ounce for gold. We got a shitload of that in the ground too, haven't we, over in Western Australia? We got gold mines in Australia, and yeah, so you can't blame the gold mines for keep digging when it's $6,000 an ounce. We need to be digging for a lot more shit in this country. We've got one of the most richest countries when it comes to natural resources, and we should be bloody. Someone said the other day, Australians, the amount of natural resources we've got in the ground, we should all Aussies, we should be wiping our ass on $100 bills like Saudi Arabia. We should be as rich as those people. But here we are, paying through the ass for groceries, paying through the ass for diesel, paying through the ass for electricity. How do we get ourselves into this position when we are a naturally rich country? My God. Singapore is a rich country. They don't have all the natural resources that Australia's got. Mismanagement, everyone. Is that one word? Mismanagement? I reckon I'm onto something there. Our politicians have mismanaged this country for probably the last 20 to 30 years. And here we are. Here we are. And we're going to have to rely on people like Ellie and people from her generation to get us out of the shit that people my age have got us into. Let us know what you reckon. If you disagree with me on that one, let me know what you reckon. One word, mismanagement. Yeah, absolutely. We should have $1 trillion slush fund, but people are too dumb. Yeah, I know. We should have. We should have. When Abbott and Costello, they were comedians. Howard and Costello. When John Howard was Prime Minister and Peter Costello was the Treasurer, they got us into the black, everyone. They got us out of debt, and we had $200 and something billion in a slush fund. We're on our way to that, Tuck. We're on our way to $1 trillion slush fund. But guess what? We voted in some diddly donks, and they've sent us broke. And now we're $1 trillion, still having $1 trillion slush fund. We're $1 trillion down the gurgler. I'll go back to that word again, mismanagement. Because we're run by a pack of fucking idiots who have got no clue. Absolutely no clue. Does anyone know the answer? Stick your hand up and become Prime Minister, please, because we're going back. It's not just Australia either. A lot of Western countries seem to be the same. Anyway, 91 unleaded is 50 cents a litre in Iran at the moment. 50 cents a litre, wow. John filled up the other day on his thing. It was, mind you, someone filled up with diesel the other day in America, and it was $7 a gallon. And I did the conversion, and I thought, somewhere in America, they are paying more for diesel than what we are. That for diesel. John filled up with petrol the other day, his Bronco, and it was $4 something a gallon. But then you convert that to American, it's still cheaper than what we're paying, a lot cheaper than what we're paying, but certainly not as cheap as what the Americans used to pay. They used to be very, very cheap for fuel. That's why the Yanks could all afford to run big V8s and all that, because fuel was so cheap over there. Anyway, not anymore. It's $2.41 here in town at the moment. I filled up on the 31st of July. I filled up. No, I didn't. I filled up. When did the excise come off? The 1st of August? Yeah, she's creeping up again now. And someone said before, we're going to be staring down the barrel of $3 a litre for diesel again soon, if something's not done over in that Strait of Hormuz. I don't know. And then I heard on the news the other day, well done to the government for getting ships here to keep our holdings of diesel and fuel, our diesel it was. Well, guess what? There's ships sitting off the coast of Australia at the moment with diesel in them, and we don't have the storage facilities. Our storage facilities are full, so we've got plenty of diesel here at the moment, nowhere near our 90 days holding like we should have. We got 30-something days. We got no more storage. So we got ships, this was on the news, I'm not making this up. We got ships sitting off the coast of Australia with diesel for us, and there's nowhere for them to put it. And I heard that on the news. Maybe Blackers can back me up on that one. Steve, have you heard anything about that? We've got ships of diesel sitting off the coast, and we don't have the facilities to store it in this country. There you go. Mismanagement once again. Mismanagement again. Phil Taylor's just sent me a thing here. 3% inflation, 3% unemployment, 3% GBT, and maybe 3% wage growth is a happy Australia. Yeah, 3%. There you go. Wages go up by 3. Everything goes up evenly. But at the moment, things aren't going up evenly. Things are going up unevenly, and it's in favour of hosing us over. I'm sure we're all in the same boat, everyone. We're all in the same boat. We all go grocery shopping. We all have to fill our fuel tanks up, and we all have to pay electricity bills. Can you imagine if the government just concentrated on those 3 things? Other stuff would fall into place. Things would follow. Electricity costs, grocery prices, and what was the other bloody thing? Cost of fuel. Come on. Everything comes back to the cost of diesel. If we can get cheap diesel in this country, the cost of a lot of other stuff will fall. Transportation costs of steel, transportation costs for everything, all our food here in North Queensland. How do we get it? It comes by truck up the Bruce Highway. And we know that because as soon as it floods, we don't get any food on our shelves at the supermarkets. Yeah. Costing $90,000 a day while parked in the bay. Yeah, we're still paying for that. We're still paying the ship company to have that diesel on. So we're paying for diesel that's not being offloaded. We need to have the storage here, offload it, and let the ships get on and go and get their next load. But they're sitting off the shore at the moment because we don't have enough storage tanks in this bloody country to store enough diesel for ourselves. God, that's what I mean. Well, anyway, Chris Foley, the Queensland Premier, has said that we need to drill, we need to refine, and we need to store. Drill, refine, store. And at least he's one of the premiers that's pulled his head out of his ass and has seen what the Strait of Hormuz thing's done. And he knows that this is what we need to do. And I think he's looking at opening a refinery around Gladstone area and more storage tanks and all that type of stuff. This doesn't happen overnight, I might add, everyone, does it? It doesn't happen overnight. And Western Australia now have said that they want their own refinery back. So we're moving in the right direction slowly. This should have been done years ago, but should have been done years ago. Yeah, our country runs on it, whether we like it or not. Blackers, our country runs on diesel. We run on diesel, whether we like it or not. And we're a long way from having trucks and trains and all that type of shit running off solar panels. I won't see it in my lifetime. At the moment, we need cheap diesel to keep our country going, and we don't have it. Yeah, drill, baby, drill, as a great man once said. Yeah. Anyway, let's hope that's over. What's Mike said here? Iran knows that if it raises the price of fuel, they will have a civil war on their hands. Yeah. I don't know. Is there any end to that over there? We don't hear a lot about it on the news anymore, Mike. It's kind of taken a bit of a back seat. We know it's still on, but because we only have to drive past a petrol station or a service station, servo, to know the war's still on because of the price of fuel here. $2.41 a litre for diesel, and it's over $2 now for unleaded 91. So there you go. You don't need me to tell you that, everyone. It sucks. Where's my BT50 at the moment? In the shed. Got the solar panels keeping the dual battery and the fridge running in the back, and it can sit in there. While diesel's $2.41 a litre, it can sit in the shed. It can sit there. Anyway, all right, everyone. Hope you enjoyed your morning. I'll let you get on with your weekend. A couple of footy games on the Sarve. Roz should be back from Cairns soon. She went up to Cairns for an overnighter with her sisters. She does a lot of family stuff. And me and Rafa held the fort, and I had a crisis last night. Crew caught a baby plover, and I had to babysit that last night. He's out in the back paddock now, and he flapped his wings and ran off into the grass. So hopefully he's on the mend, and that bloody cat doesn't find it again. They're an arsehole animal sometimes, cats. They really are. See you, Newts. See you, mate. Ray Newman, Lynn Rogers, all of yous. Bloody download me latest recipe, the bush quiches. What do you want to see next? I've got them all ready to go. What do you want to see? Uncle Mel's crispy chicken next. Roz's coconut curry chicken. chili con carne, Annie Myers, subby scones. They're all ready. I've got about another 36 recipes. I'm going to release one every Wednesday and every Sunday. So if you want to print them out, if you've got a nice colour printer, print them out or save them to your phone, everyone. Russ's idea. Save the picture of my Facebook page to the phone, and that way when you go in shopping, you can just pull the photo up and I've got the ingredients and that on the first page. So if you ever want to go and do a cook-up. Speaking of which, I'm thinking of going into Coles and getting the ingredients for Gidgey's green Thai curry chicken and pull the Ozpig out of the cobwebs and crank the Ozpig up this afternoon and do a big green Thai curry chicken. Coconut curry. All right, I might put Roz's coconut curry will be up next, everyone. That'll be, what is it, Sonny? That'll be up on Wednesday. Roz's coconut curry chicken will be the next recipe. And you've got to give it a go. Jennifer, you've got to try and cook it. It's a nice, easy thing to cook, and it's bloody beautiful. And like any curry, it's best the next day. All right, now me back teeth afloat. See you later, everyone. Thanks, Ellie, for coming on this morning. Good to see you again. And good luck with all your university studies. See you later, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye now.